peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying
that we are born to eternal life.
Amen.
WESN.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Opposition questions education plans. Imbert presses the government on the Exxon deal. 2 dead in PTSD highway crash. And internationally, Gaza truce proposal awaits Israel's response. Now for the details. St. Anne's East MP Dr. Nayan Gasby-Dolly is calling on Education Minister Dr. Michael Dowlath to clarify the future of several school programs. She raised concerns about delays in the book grant scheme, the discontinuation of the vacation remedial program, and the promised laptops for new Form 1 students. She also questioned support for students preparing for online CSEC exams and called for updates on police patrols in and around schools to tackle violence. Diego Martin North East MP Colum Imbert is demanding transparency on the production sharing contract signed with ExxonMobil for ultra-deepwater exploration. He said Trinidad and Tobago may not see oil revenues for at least a decade, as Exxon would first recover costs before the state earns any income. Imbert also defended the sale of Trin City Mall, criticized the government's handling of foreign exchange shortages, and argued that its wage offer to public servants was no different from the last administration's. In response, MP Devendranath Tanko accused Imbert of hypocrisy, saying he created the forex crisis and was now spreading fear to distract the public. 2 people are dead and several others injured after a PTSD deluxe bus collided with a flatbed truck on the Solomon Hotroy Highway near Freeport. The victims have been identified as driver Mustafa Khan and passenger Roxanne Phillip, a security officer. Khan died at the scene while Philip was trapped under the wreckage. The Transport and Homeland Security Ministers visited the site as emergency teams worked to free passengers who were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Internationally, Hamas says it has accepted a new ceasefire hostage release plan brokered by Qatar and Egypt, but Israel is yet to respond. The proposal includes a 60-day pause in fighting, with around half of the remaining hostages to be freed while negotiations continue. However, Israel has maintained it will only accept a full deal with guarantees the release of all hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel plans to fully occupy Gaza, with cabinet approval expected this week for a new military operation in Gaza City. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Get ready for the rhythm, the rivalry, and the raw talent. Saturday, 23rd August, Pravi QRC presents the first ever magnificent 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash, celebrating World Steel Pan Day. 7 elite school steel orchestras go head-to-head in a thrilling showdown of skill and style. Witness music, passion, and national pride as 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash at Queen's Royal Royal College, Bishop Anstey College, San Juan North Secondary, Presentation College San Fernando, St. James Secondary, Belmont Secondary, Tranquility Secondary, and St. Francois Girls College battle in rhythm and style. The Magnificent Seven Invitational Schools Plan Clash, Saturday 23rd August at 1 p.m. Be there when history plays in steel. Don't miss it.
KDM Health Limited says, test yourself for STDs in the privacy of your own home. Our self-help test kits for all STDs are available at our wholesale office in Chaguanas. Call 283-1423, visit our website at www.kdmhealtht.com or email us at kdmhealthlimited@gmail.com to place your orders. Available at all health institutions and pharmacies. Contact us for a free list of products and prices.
Advanced Solutions Technical Institute isn't just about courses, it's about creating futures. We serve every learner, from the new graduate to the seasoned professional, with engaging supportive staff and tailored learning plans. Study in the way that works for you and gain skills in business, security, finance, telecoms, fiber optics, and beyond. ASTI, training tomorrow's leaders today.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
Our award-winning show is back, and this season promises to be even more exciting than before. What's Up, Doc isn't just a title. It's a call to action for anyone who wants to improve their health and well-being. Join us on this thrilling ride towards better health on WESN Content Capital.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I am Naomi Macnish, and this morning I have some news updates for you guys, and it's also Wild Wednesday, so you'll know what to expect by the end, close to the end of the show. So it's first to begin with, this is something that we touched on a while back with regard to the U.S. revoking student visas. So we have an update on that. The U.S. State Department has revoked over 6,000 student visas so far this year. According to reports, nearly 4,000 of these were scrapped due to criminal allegations ranging from assault and DUIs to burglary. Meanwhile, between 200 and 300 visas were revoked under the onerous banner of support for terrorism, citing Section 3B of the Immigration and Nationality Act, this was one of the points that were made clear when we first spoke about it with regard to students, international students, specifically with the Harvard incident. This course of action comes amid a sweeping crackdown on international students as the administration ramps up social media screening and pauses visa interviews, all under the guise of national security and ideological vetting. So I don't know if y'all could remember, but there was a point where, even in Trinidad and Tobago, they said once you're going for your visa, you have to keep your social media accounts open. Can't be locked, can't be private once you have a social media account. So, so as I mentioned, so more than 6,000 student visas have been revoked this year by the State Department. 4,000 of that are alleged legal violations, and up to 300 for alleged support for terrorism. And the administration has implemented tougher vetting. Applicants must now make, so this is I didn't know this. So applicants must now make social media profile. My bad. Sorry, I read that wrong. Right. Officials are instructed to flag any hostility toward U.S. citizens, culture, government institutions, or founding principles. So again, making reference, this has to do with the Harvard incident that we spoke about a while back, and where students on campus were protesting about the Palestine-Gaza war that's happening there with Israel. Pro-Palestine, I guess, protests. So there's a lot happening there. And again, you have to make, so it's not just in Trinidad and Tobago. Anywhere you could get a U.S. visa, applying for a U.S. visa, you have to make your social media accounts public. They will go through everything. They will dig up old files. They will, and remember, whatever you post on social media is never gone. It will always be there. That's why, since I was in school, we were always told to be very careful of the things that we post on social media, be very careful of the things that we support on social media as well, because it can come back and bite you later on. Yeah, so as that, we will keep a close eye on what's happening there and continue to update y'all. So moving on, we have another story from, again, this is international news. This was a gas line explosion that occurred in North Carolina. Again, I believe we have a video for this one. Very interesting video. Yeah. So this was a dramatic gas line explosion in Wilmington, North Carolina, where debris rained down from the sky following a crash that breached a veterinary clinic's gas line. So you can put the video up now if you have it.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
So this happened yesterday at approximately 11:30 a.m. A vehicle lost control and collided with the Eastern Carolina Veterinary Medical Center on New Center Drive. The impact, or possibly a delayed rupture, triggered a massive gas explosion. In seconds, debris erupted skyward and sent smoke billowing across the area. The explosion was powerful enough to be heard at the University of North Carolina's Wilmington campus, which was over a mile away. The aftermath was debris, across surrounding blocks. It was extremely chaotic. Witnesses were visibly stunned, with one man repeatedly exclaiming, "Oh my gosh, as you heard from the video. And 3 firefighters were severely burnt while battling the blaze. So there is an investigation ongoing as to why the explosion happened so quickly. Details right now do remain unclear. Whether the car impact directly caused the explosion or if the gas line was faulty prior to the car crashing into the line. The driver fled the scene but was quickly apprehended, though no charges have yet been announced. I would assume in a moment like that, fleeing the scene doesn't necessarily mean he was running because he was guilty of anything. I think Again, the explosion, it happened not long after he crashed into the line, so that could be part of why he ran. But again, investigations are going on concerning that as well. The veterinary clinic was under renovations at the time, and they were expected to reopen next month. So this could be part of, I think this would make the investigation easier, because if they were under renovation, then that could explain why they may have had a faulty gas line. All right, so we have, gonna move on. There is this one is more local now. There was an article that we found yesterday in The Guardian titled "Of Sons and Daughters." So this was actually really interesting, and we wanted to have a wider conversation on this, but I'll just touch on it for now. That article kind of, it spoke about our population rate and how it has decreased over the years. And the number of babies being born each year has fallen dramatically from around 30,000 births, which was in the 1970s and 80s, to under 10,000 last year. So that's below the replacement rate needed to maintain our population, given that about 10,000 people also die here every year. So if this trend continues, the long-term implications are huge. It will not be good for the economy, and not even just that. I mean, you will start seeing differences in schools. You know, you'll start seeing classrooms becoming emptier, fewer pediatric patients, and even a strain on the National Insurance Board. So all these things, again, it's like a ripple effect. You'll begin to see it as the years go by. The fewer births that we have, you begin to see fewer adults, fewer people growing up, and that's just how severe it is. I think, so this is a conversation. We can continue some more, and we'll dive a bit deeper. So we are going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we can continue on with this. I think Jada is going to join me on the show once we return.
Advanced Solutions Technical Institute isn't just about courses, it's about creating futures. We serve every learner, from the new graduate to the seasoned professional, with engaging, supportive staff and tailored learning plans. Study in the way that works for you and gain skills in business, security, finance, telecoms, fiber optics, and beyond. ASTI, training tomorrow's leaders today.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
KDM Health Limited says, test yourself for STDs in the privacy of your own home. Our self-help test kits for all STDs are available at our wholesale office in Chaguanas. Call 283-1423. Visit our website at www.kdmhealthtt.com. or email us at kdmhealthlimited@gmail.com to place your orders. Available at all health institutions and pharmacies. Contact us for a free list of products and prices.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Hi, welcome back to the program this morning. So I am joined by my co-host, Jada, this morning via Zoom. Thanks for joining us, Jada.
Good morning, WESN AM Prime family.
So we were just discussing the article in The Guardian titled of Sons and Daughters, and just how interesting that was. It spoke about the declining birth rate and what that means for Trinidad and Tobago, what that would mean for an economy if you begin to see fewer and fewer births over the years or as the years go by. And then it also touched on parents beginning to prefer daughters over sons.
That's an interesting point,
yeah.
Because technically we are already overrun by women in the world. Women is a larger population of women than men.
Yeah.
Around the world. So, I mean, that how are you going to I don't know what to say.
Well, this opinion was, in the article, this opinion was based off of the girls being easier to raise. That was the opinion of the writer, the author. He said, once seen as less desirable, girls are now increasingly viewed as the safer bet. Valued for being nurturing, supportive, and in some cases, easier to raise.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree, but I mean, and maybe that's just the writer's perspective in Trinidad, or is he speaking?
I think it's specific to Trinidad in this case.
We are pretty matri-focused, matriarchal. I don't think you could step outside Trinidad and not see a woman walking. We have a lot of women here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, the wider issue of population rates being decreased around the world is something that I think we all know, but we don't pay too much of attention to, unfortunately. But it's something that we're going to start to see. I mean, even right now, if we look at the amount of people that are in retirement age, that is slowly starting to because a lot of people have to hold on to those jobs because it's like who's going to fill those positions. Like if you look at certain countries, as I'm reading here, Japan, South Korea, and certain parts of Eastern Europe are already struggling with replacing their population, replacing their workforce. And with that, we have to talk about the tax burden on a smaller workforce because less people will be, but because less people are contributing to the big tax fund, it's gonna be detrimental for all because people will be getting less, and especially if it has to spread out through a good amount of people. So people will start to complain about they're not receiving enough to live off of. Maybe they have to work longer to make more money.
Yeah, and I think too that's why most people, most couples or households would prefer to have one child, especially now. Like if they do want to have children, it's usually okay, one and done or two and done, you know, whereas back in the day you could have 8, 9, and 10 or more. So
and that makes the problem a circular problem because they just have less children.
Yeah, either one or none.
Yeah.
And especially in this economy. And then what I also see here is that they said, so the whole daughters over sons issue, which I find to be very interesting because I always thought raising a son would be easier because I know I was not easy. I mean, as a girl child, you would expect a girl child requires more, in my opinion.
I don't understand, like, what a child is a child. Like, why would a girl or a boy require more? Is it that it's more emotional?
Not just the emotion part, but I mean, as a female, in terms of, like, I always wanted new clothes, shoes, things for your hair, things, makeup. It's like there's just more things to upkeep a girl.
Price of Legos. Those things are expensive.
So, and then as a girl also has a lot of fantasies, and as a girl child, you know, you would consider when she's a teenager, sweet 16, or she, you know, wants to do over her bedroom, and it just, girls want more. And I grew up with 3 brothers. So my mother always said that. So I always had that in my head, that like raising a girl is harder than boys. Boys don't need much, or they don't want much, you know? So for her, but my mother, she always said it was harder to raise me than her 3 sons. So.
That's so interesting to me. I didn't think it would be like that. But then again, well, my parents have one girl and one guy, myself and my brother. And I always thought that I was the easiest child to raise. But I mean, if you think about it, doing over the room and buying the makeup and all that, yeah, that was me. That was me. So maybe I really have to ask them the truth.
Yeah.
Who was harder to raise?
Yeah. So there was a kind of, well, a little statistic line here in India and China. The sex ratios are balancing out after decades of female selective abortions, right? Which makes sense, because that's what I'm saying. Like, I know at some point people preferred boy children over girl children, right? But now in Japan, surveys show 75% of couples wanting only one child now prefer a girl, which is a huge change. Fertility clinics in the U.S. report growing demand for girls during IVF, where sex selection is legal. That's interesting. Very interesting. And then, but in Trinidad, it says there's no evidence of a preference one way or the other. Our birth ratios are still hovering around the natural 102 boys for every 100 girls.
Yeah, because when I was in school, I remember researching this, and people used to say that the population of women far outdo men. But now, as of 2025, there are an estimated 4.14 billion males to 4.9 billion females. That's okay. That's a problem. That's a
There's
problem.
not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough male to female. Yeah.
Yeah. Over the past 23 years, there were constantly more men than women living on the planet of the 8.6 billion people living on Earth. Oh, that's interesting to me, because I always thought we had more women than men.
No.
That's
no.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the selective birth. Yeah. That's, I don't know how to feel about that, because I mean now I'm thinking, well, we have to balance the scales. So yeah, of course they would prefer more girls, because you know maybe it's a biological thing where we're like, okay, so we're losing girls, so let's prefer them more right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking out loud.
But actually, so we have a international standpoint of all of this. There was in Japan, and we mentioned this in some of these statistics that we just read, Japan has just recorded its largest population drop on record, losing nearly 1 million people in a single year. It's a stark sign of a deepening demographic crisis in the world's fastest aging society. So I think we have a video of this as well, so we'll take a look. Yes. And okay, so I don't think we have a video. All right, so I'll just read on what it's about, right? So Japan recorded its largest population drop in record, losing nearly 1 million people in a single year. In 2024, there were only about 687,000 births, but more than 1.6 million deaths. So in this story, we're looking at the birth to death ratio. So as fast as people are dying, not enough people are being born. Meanwhile, the population shrank by close to 900,000 people. So this is a sharp decline. This sharp decline is part of a bigger trend. Japan's population has been falling since 2009 and now sits at about 120 million. With over 30% of its citizens aged 65 or older, it's the world's fastest aging society. The consequences are serious: fewer workers, shrinking tax revenues, and heavier pressure on pensions and healthcare. This is completely understandable because when you look at Asians, it has always been known, it has always been a fact that Asians, Japanese, that whole side of the world, they do have a lot of elderly people. And it makes sense because you see more elderly people than you do babies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real. That's so true.
Yeah, when you think about it, you really do. You see more elderly Asians than you do Asian babies. Mm-hmm. And now we have the statistics to kind of cement that because it's an observation, and the fact that you can make an observation like that just proves how dire or how severe the crisis is.
What even is the fix for something like this? I'm seeing that we may have a comment. I don't know if it's going up. Oh gosh, let me read this comment.
Wow, that is a large drop in the birth rate. Time for you and Jada to start making baby. No.
Oh, some of you are allowed to time it. Some are allowed to time it.
But not. You see, so the conversations that we've had before. Mm-hmm. We live in an economy where, as a young adult, the first thing on your mind is not to have kids. It's not to settle down with a family and have kids just yet. Now, I am a firm believer, and this is just my opinion, that we are supposed to, as women, make babies, right? Mm-hmm. I see nothing wrong with that. That is part of life. That is why we are women, or one of the reasons why we are women. This is our duty on this earth. But in due time it will happen, and then we can add to the population. But as of now,
but that kind, you just kind of underscore the solution there. We just need to have more babies. But the reason as to why we're not having more babies, the true solution is to fix
you have to fix the root cause, because you can't just tell people go and have babies, and then everybody's struggling to raise their babies. Right? Exactly. Something needs to happen, something needs to be fixed. If the issue is a decline in the population and that is an issue that needs to be fixed, then let's do things to fix it instead of just, because the solution is not just go and have babies. That can't be the solution. That's like you have a cut or an open wound, and you stick a plaster over it. You don't clean it, you don't dress it, you do nothing. And what happens when you stick a plaster over an open wound with nothing? right? This has happened to me before, right? When you begin to pull it off, it's pain, and then it looks horrible. So let's fix the root cause.
Yes, and I think that is a good place to end on this point, because, I mean, you could speculate, because at this point came to my head, whether or not we need to do anything about a declining population rate, because it's not like humans were always at 8 billion people. At some point we were at 6, at some point we were at 5. But the reason why we need such a large population is to make sure that we can, the younger people that are working can contribute to the future of the ones who are going out and having to live off of retirement. So we're kind of compensating for each other. So that's the reason why we need a larger population now, so that we can see about our elderly. One of the reasons why we can see about our elderly. So if there was a way to sort of, I don't know, add to a large pool or fund for the elderly or persons that need to live off of retirement, while still sort of balancing the scales of lessening the population, is that such a bad thing?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about that, like, is it such a bad thing? If we can see about the elderly while still saying, okay, well, right now, yeah, a lot of young people do not want to have children, so obviously we're going to have less people in the
So with regard to Japan, they are trying their best to deal with this situation, right? So the Japanese government is trying to respond with incentives, and this is something I thought of like a while back, and I started seeing it coming up on social media a lot, where countries were now paying their citizens to have babies, right? And some of these incentives include free childcare, shorter work weeks to encourage family life, and even AI-powered matchmaking to boost marriages and births. Immigration is also being discussed, but there's a strong cultural resistance where that is concerned. But in my opinion, these are the things that you need to start seeing for if you want to combat this drop in the birth rate, then you have to give your citizens a reason. You know?
The Trinidad government will give us money, you think? Give us money? No?
I don't think we would see that.
Because the main reason Trinidadian women might want to have, and for me, economics is a part of it, but also a lot of it is safety. Like, next thing, I have a girl child, which is something I want, but if I have a girl child, the extraness in going into protecting her is going to be, it's going to be something hard to do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different aspects you have to think about. We don't necessarily live in a safe Trinidad and Tobago, right? So when you have a whole prime minister saying stand your ground or load up the matic, then that's a problem. That's actually not a good state for a country to be in. We're thinking socialist wise.
Well,
so it's not the safest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think for Trinidad and Tobago, where we have to start with regard to doing something about our decline in birth rate is we need to have wholesome conversations around the importance of having babies, the importance of what does this mean for the economy. Like, it has to be, we need to educate persons, because everybody will have their opinion on having a baby, especially as women. I remember some time ago we were having a discussion and we said young adults now, especially women, are career driven. They're focusing on building a career. They're focusing on becoming independent. And this is something that a debate, right? Because you have two sides of it. You have whether women should be, you have the modern woman, and then you have the, old time, right? And this is, everybody will have their opinion, and as I said, we just need to have more conversations on it. Because if we leave it as is, and everybody just has their own personal opinion on this matter, then we will get nowhere, right? And this is not something that is talked about. We don't have these kind of conversations in public. So that's where, for us, that's where we have to start.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Right there.
Yeah. So, and maybe you could start with us. This is something I think we could put together a discussion and get some people on the show to talk about this and really unpack every aspect of our declining birth rate, of women wanting to be a modern woman versus what's the other? A traditional.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if the CSO, Central Statistical Office, has done like some sort of survey on women and why it is, they would choose or not choose to have children right now. Like, this was some kind of reasoning behind that, because I think it'll be rather interesting to see what our population says.
And maybe we would maybe this can be one of our first debates on the show. That's just a little hint that we might start doing that. So we will see. We'll see. If this is something, as a viewer, if you're watching right now, that this is something that y'all would love to see, then let us know and give us your feedback so we will know if we're moving in the right direction with regard to this conversation. Yeah.
So if we are gonna move on to another topic, I know that something I was looking at yesterday, and I hope we didn't cover this as yet, but it was a lot of countries now, Israel is feeling the heat. So a lot of countries now are pulling out of any sort of support, economic, financial, social, any sort of support to Israel. They're sort of building bridges on every side. So most recently, the country of Norway has cut their $2 trillion wealth fund for Israeli investments over the Gaza war. And this is actually a big thing, because now, you see, they're calling it a Gaza war. A couple of years ago, months ago, they were calling it a Gaza Israel-Palestine conflict. But now many people are standing up to say, well, no, it's more than just a conflict right now. It's a genocide, it's a war, and therefore the aggressor needs to be held accountable. We need to stay very unbiased, on the show, but language is changing and countries are now changing their approach. So we can take a look at this video for more information.
Speaking of money, Norway is sending a message with its money. It controls the world's largest sovereign wealth fund. It's basically a state-owned fund that invests in financial markets, real estate and other assets. The Norwegian fund is worth nearly $2 trillion. This fund held stakes in 11 Israeli companies. But now those investments are gone, and the reason is the war in Gaza. The move follows a storm in Oslo. There was a row over Norway's investments in an Israeli defense company. It made parts for Israel's fighter jets, the same jets that are bombing Gaza. This controversy has forced Norway to pull out all its investments in Israel. And for Israel, this is more than a financial hit. This is a symbolic blow, because the world's biggest investor has decided to walk away over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Here's a report.
Norway's sovereign wealth fund is the biggest in the world. It is worth almost $2 trillion. It is managed by Norway's central bank, and it owns shares in more than 8,700 companies worldwide. As of June 30th, the fund had stakes in 61 Israeli companies. This week, it sold all its shares in 11 of them.
The pension fund has completely divested from 11 Israeli companies. This divestment began last week and was completed today. Agreements with external managers in Israel have been terminated.
The divestment covers companies based in Israel. It also includes companies outside Israel that have strong links to the country. The fund also ended relationships with certain external managers. These managers handled Israeli investments on its behalf. The fund's CEO, Nikolai Tangen, cited extraordinary circumstances for this decision. He said the humanitarian crisis in Gaza had influenced the decision, but a recent controversy could have forced Norway to pull the trigger. Last week, the country's largest newspaper revealed a stake in Bet Shemesh Engines. The company makes parts for Israeli fighter jets, the same jets being used in the Gaza war. The revelation caused outrage. Norway's prime minister called the investment worrying. This is not the first time the fund has acted. In 2023, it sold shares in an Israeli energy company and in a telecom operator. Earlier this year, Norway's largest pension fund also divested from several Israeli firms. The wealth fund's guidelines are clear. It can exclude companies involved in serious violations of human rights. It can also act when a country is in armed conflict. The decision is not taken lightly. It goes through a formal process and is approved by the fund's Ethics Council. The fund is no stranger to making bold moves. In 2022, it froze all Russian investments. This was after Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. It later sold those holdings entirely. As the world's largest sovereign wealth fund, its decisions are closely watched. Politicians follow them, activists follow them, because its actions can influence markets and send a strong political message. For Israel, the decision is both financial and symbolic. Losing the world's largest investor sends a signal to other funds. It shows that major institutions are willing to link investments to human rights.
That's big news. Huge news, actually. So, Norway's massive sovereign wealth fund worth around $2 trillion US. That's a lot of money.
See, I was trying to speak, I didn't realize my mic was muted. Grand moment of me there. Okay. But yeah, so what's being done now from the Sovereign Wealth Fund is they're reviewing different companies. So as I said, they had investments in over 65 Israeli companies. Mm-hmm. They've divested completely out of 11, and what they're saying here is that they're putting them on review for so each one is being reviewed to see whether it meets the
standard, and I know that they're checking to see if they have any relation to what's happening in Gaza, to Israel's conduct with regard to Gaza.
Mm-hmm. If you're making metal and that metal being sold to make guns to go to Israel, well, you consider yourself. Yeah. And what I realize the amount is just shy of $2 billion. It has boosted into Israel's economy. So that's not a small amount to lose. So it's
they said it's based on human rights concerns, and with the 11 so far, they do plan to exclude 6 more after more reviews, after an ethics review.
So I really wonder what President Netanyahu is going to have to say. Israeli Prime Minister is going to have to say about this, because it's like he's usually very vocal about anything any of the countries have to say about what's going on over there in the West Bank.
Yeah.
I wonder, because this report came out a couple of days ago.
Yeah, about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
So I'm wondering, is a tail between his legs, because it is a big divestment.
Yeah.
Is it other funds are going to pull out as well, because that's a huge chunk of their capital. Yes, they have the U.S. backing, but that's really about it. They don't have as much.
They're not getting as much support, and then recently as well, more recent than this story came out actually. Gaza was getting some mediating support from Qatar and Egypt, right? Which, when I saw that, I was actually very, I was happy to see it, because when we had the conversation with the journalist from Gaza, Youssef Al-Halou, I mentioned that. I said, why isn't the other countries around the region supporting or showing any type of support. If they all come together, then that could really help and give assistance to how bad things are in the West Bank. And he said, well, no, they just don't want to get involved, right? That was the whole thing. But now we're seeing that they are speaking up and they're stepping up and they're trying their best to help create this ceasefire agreement or the ceasefire deal, right? And one of the most recent stories that I saw was there was a deal on the table, and Egypt and Qatar, they pleaded to Gaza to, agree. Just this is what is, but Israel is not. They're like, no, we want what we want. So it was that. I think part of the agreement was they would release half of their hostages and then cease all war interactions for 60 days. But I'll double check that. But I think it was 60 days. And Israel said no, they want all their hostages. Right?
Yeah, that's the only leverage that that at this point Gaza has, but it's not necessarily. It's not even necessarily Gaza. It's not the Gazan people. It's why can't I remember what they're called?
Palestinians.
No.
Palestinians.
Akin to the Taliban, but that yeah. So it's not necessarily the Gazan people themselves. But going back to the sovereign wealth fund, what pulling out really means is it's not a full withdrawal, as we would have mentioned earlier. The fund will continue to hold substantial stakes, but only narrow to the companies within a certain standard or benchmark index. The divestments target companies outside the benchmark and of ethical concern, particularly those linked to military support or operating in conflict zones around the region. Internal oversight, it moves to end external management and increase ethical scrutiny that signals a step towards tighter control and accountability. And of course, it's an ongoing process. This is a huge step for any one country to make, but it is one of the biggest steps that I think needs to be made so that it can get the point across that this is not something that you can just do.
Yeah.
Yes, Israel, they may have claims, they may have a leg to stand on regarding, release my hostages. But at the end of the day, this is not how you go. This is not how any country should be allowed to go about exacting justice for themselves. There's two sides to every story. And right now, your side isn't seeming that convincing.
Yeah.
But,
the point.
We had a quite a day, quite a morning of talking about
a lot is happening. We're seeing a lot of news, international news especially, unfolding, and there's actually a lot more on this Gaza Israel now war. So
yeah. So there's actually another person that we'd like to bring on because we want to keep speaking about this. Someone is touching down from Palestine in a couple of days. I believe one of the ambassadors, as we have secured a exclusive interview with them. So we want to keep talking more on this and keeping you engaged because this is one of the bigger conflicts that's going on in the world right now, and it's really good to keep updated on what's going on.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so I think that can wrap our news updates for now. We do have Mr. Ricardo Mead coming on next with Wild Wednesday, so that's always exciting, especially it's what we look forward to on a Wednesday.
That's something you guys look forward to as well. Unfortunately, I will not be joining us for Wild Wednesday today, but I'll be back next week to hear what Mr. Mead has for us. I have a feeling that today he brought an animal I would love, and next week he's gonna bring an animal that'll bring me actual terror and nightmares because I just feel like that's what's gonna happen.
Well, let's see. I'm excited to see what animal we have in studio today. So Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Smart Wednesday.
Get ready for the rhythm, the rivalry, and the raw talent. Saturday, 23rd August, Pravi QRC presents the first ever Magnificent 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash, celebrating World Steel Pan Day. 7 elite school steel orchestras go head-to-head in a thrilling showdown of skill and style. Witness music, passion, and national pride as 7 invitational schools Pan Clash at Queen's Royal College, Bishop Anstey College, San Juan North Secondary, Presentation College San Fernando, St. James Secondary, Belmont Secondary, Tranquility Secondary, and St. Francois Girls College battle in rhythm and style. The Magnificent 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash, Saturday 23rd August at 1 p.m. Be there when history plays in steel. Don't miss it.
Our elevators from Morona can be custom finished. We have wall finishes, we have our glass finishes, we have our handrail finishes, and our floor finishes. So our finishes can be customized to suit the aesthetics of your building. So here's what, you want to work with us. You want us to match your elevator to your building. Connect with us today.
Advanced Solutions Technical Institute isn't just about courses, it's about creating futures. We serve every learner, from the new graduate to the seasoned professional, with engaging, supportive staff and tailored learning plans. Study in the way that works for you and gain skills in business, security, finance, telecoms, fiber optics, and beyond. ASTI, training tomorrow's leaders today.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world: diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health. Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
KDM Health Limited says, test yourself for STDs in the privacy of your own home. Our self-help test kits for all STDs are available at our wholesale office in Chaguanas. Call 283-1423. Visit our website at www.kdmhealtht.com. or email us at kdmhealthlimited@gmail.com to place your orders. Available at all health institutions and pharmacies. Contact us for a free list of products and prices.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
right, welcome back to AM Prime this morning. So we have Wild Wednesday. We're going to cue the bumper right now. Love that. All right, so joining me on the program this morning, as always, is Mr. Ricardo Meade from the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, McNish. Good morning to our friends, followers, and supporters out there. Thank you for having me again here on AM Prime. I kind of missed last week. Yes. I was all geared up and, well, series of unfortunate events, but here we are, always happy to be here. Every morning I get up, put my feet on the ground. It's a good day. Yes. It's a good day. So today is another great day.
So when Mr. Meade walked in this morning, now I'm here by myself. Jada's not here to sit between, you know. Jada's always in the middle. So she's closer to the animal. Mr. Meade walked in today and he hid whatever animal it is that he brought from me. So I'm suspecting that it's something that I'm not going to be too pleased about. Would you like to clarify that, Mr. Meade?
I don't know if that's the right terminology, statement you wouldn't be too pleased about. It's Wild Wednesday, and I've brought native wildlife to edify, educate, and even entertain some of our folks out there.
Yes.
And I'm sure you would be very grateful for that opportunity also.
Yes.
So you'll be happy to meet this guy here, a very special guy. I had all plans for something else. My plans from last week have now been brought forward to this week. Mm-hmm. And then yesterday, I got a call. Well, actually, Monday night, I got a call and I told, okay, great, I'm picking it up on Tuesday morning. And I picked him up and boy, oh boy, oh boy, we've got a beauty today. Don't get jealous.
Okay.
Don't get jealous. This animal is going to steal the light of it.
Okay.
So are you ready to meet it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What do you think it is?
Well, I don't know.
No guess?
A snake.
Yes, but not any, see, we've had snakes already. You guys are happy and comfortable. This snake even has me a bit nervous.
Is it one of the few venomous snakes that we have?
Correct is right.
Oh, wow.
So again, I'm stating, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody out there, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have none, zilch, nada, poisonous snakes. So don't come and ask me if the snake poisonous. I will always tell you, no. It is not poisonous. If you want to find out if it's poisonous, you can eat it, and then if you die, then it's poisonous. But what we have in Trinidad and Tobago are 4 species of highly venomous snakes. There are other snakes that have a mild venom that wouldn't really do a human anything other than give you a swelling like a bee sting.
Yeah.
So they are not considered venomous or highly venomous. There are 4 of which we would lay our attention and pay concern towards because they are highly venomous, meaning that they have the ability through their venom to kill us. And that's what we worry about. Sometimes overly so, but we should be aware of, not worried about. So without much further ado, no drum roll, we don't want to get this guy upset at all. So ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, presenting our guest this morning on Wild Wednesday, This is Z Mapipi. Yes, set like a Mapipi. This is the actual animal. This animal was rescued quite fortunately by a gentleman who I hope becomes one of our new rescuers, quite a talented guy in the Sawa region, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. Like myself, most of the time when these people say Sawa or Sawa, they don't consider up in the hills. There are a lot of people living up there, but up in the hills, you're going much more remote from the Kwezi and areas like that, and you're going more into remote bushy areas up there. And of course now it increases your likelihood of encountering much more wildlife. So within that area, this guy was found, and in an amazing incidents, it was not hurt. Right. It was safely captured, and they communicated with us to find out if we wanted it. Now, we do not keep highly venomous snakes. The snake was like gotten yesterday morning. It's going to be used today for this, and a video is going to be done, and the snake is going to be released. We do not have, nor do I have a desire to prepare an enclosure at this point in time to keep this snake. They like it also a bit on the cool side, so it would be better for the snake to be in a cooler environment, air conditioned, special temperature controlled environment. So we're not prepared to do that right now, so the best thing to do with this animal is to put it back in the wild as soon as we can. So this is Mr. Ferdinand, or Mapipi.
So, just off the bat, my first observation of this snake is its texture. It looks as though it's furry.
Yes, it has a sort of velvety finish to it, as opposed to the other one. This is the Balsane, the other one is the Zanana, very rare. I can tell you, I have personally never seen one in the wild.
Okay.
I've seen them in captivity, I've seen them, people have them, but not in the wild, going through the bush and say, hey, look, they're fairly rare. And I've been looking for it for close to 20 years.
Right.
I don't get out there enough, but these places I go, I said they should be here. I've not seen them. And now, well, naturally, my ventures into the wild have diminished tremendously because I have to spend more time doing admin and managerial stuff. So I'm not out there in the bush as much as I should. But that one is the one that has a rough sort of pineapple. Just imagine touching a pineapple. That's the way that snake looks and feels. This one here, it has a roughish look to it, but it's velvety still because of it's almost like it's this tiny scales overlap creating the pattern on it.
Yeah.
And an amazing thing, I don't know if you know, it was moving around just now. I think it got somewhere. The snake, while we were sitting here, the snake was twitching. And I looked, and on that spot where it was twitching, it's gone to this side here. It actually has a tick on it.
Yeah, I saw it crawling.
Yeah. Well, blood-sucking arthropods. They will attack almost anything that they can get blood out of.
I've never seen a tick crawl. Because if I see a tick on a dog, it's usually stuck in there.
Yeah,
right.
and then engrossed with that blood.
Yeah, so that I was wondering what was that. It looked like a spider. But I didn't know snakes can get ticks as well.
Oh yeah, coming around people. People have dogs. Dogs have ticks, fleas. So dogs can get it, cats can get it, iguanas. I've seen so many iguanas get them. Massive frogs, crapper will get it. And snakes, lots of snakes. We have had so many snakes. Usually when you rescue a snake around someone's home, it has some degree of ticks and parasites on it. So we usually have to clean them up before we put them back into the wild.
So would you all remove the tick before releasing him?
Yes, it will be sprayed. There was another one on the head that the gentleman removed. The guy Ronald in Sawa, he's quite competent at handling snakes.
Yeah.
And he was able to hold the snake. Had a great picture sent to me, and I confirmed it. Because when the young lady, which is his sister, communicated with me and said, they have a Mapipi, I was like, okay, no problem, send the picture. And I knew what I was going to see in the picture, a false Mapipi. But Ricardo, you were wrong. I opened that picture and it was this guy. It really is a Mapipi, true 100% venomous with a powerful hemotoxin. I mean, it acts on your blood. It has some massive fangs in the front, not as big as the Zanana, but the fangs are used to strike, envenomate, and then the snake will basically pull back and wait for that animal, the hemotoxin, to take effect and the animal to die.
How quickly does that happen?
Depends on quite a few factors. If it got him a good bite, if it was able to inject a lot into it. Put it this way, in an adult, they can produce about 315 milligrams of toxin, of venom. It only takes 50 to kill an adult male. So one snake bite can produce enough venom to kill 3 by 2, 6, almost 7 people.
Wow.
So that's how deadly they are. So for the smaller prey, rats and small rodents and even birds and so on there, it's pretty fast acting.
Yeah.
Pretty fast acting, literally knocks them down and they follow their scent. Even if the animal struggles and wiggles and moves away, they follow that scent towards them and find the animal and just take their time now and swallow them.
Yeah.
And it's good to note, you know, that the venom is part of their digestive system.
Okay.
So we've had cases where people had removed the fangs, and that is a horrible way for the animal to die. The animals will always die. When they bite the animal and the hemotoxin starts breaking down the animal, and it not only kills the animal, but it's part of the animal, the snake's now digestive system. That act of breaking down the animal, breaking down the blood vessels and so on, aids the snake to be able to eat the animal. So the digestion starts outside of the animal. That is the amazing thing with it. It starts on the outside of the animal. And it's the same with just about all venomous creatures. For example, when a spider bites into an insect and injects the venom, it literally liquefies inside of that insect. Remember, they have a little exoskeleton like a Jack Spaniel, real hard, shelly, but inside it would liquefy it, and then the spider would come back and just bite into it and just suck up that lovely protein shake.
Wow.
So these guys are, you know, Mother Nature is amazing.
Yes, and I think I wanted to ask about if the texture of the snake, if that has anything to do with its survival skills in the wild, because I mean, you said like the Xananan,
yeah, the Bushmaster,
right, has a similar type of rough or
even
scaly.
rough or more pineapple. Just imagine a pineapple.
So is it that the venomous snakes have this look to, I guess, animals would stay away from
well,
it?
Well, the vipers do have varying types of texture. So these are vipers, pit vipers to be exact. So they have varying sort of textures. The other two snakes that we haven't spoken about are actually even more famous to a certain extent.
Right.
Our coral snakes. Now, when they were giving out venom, as it were, these vipers put up their hand and they took hemotoxin. The other toxin is neurotoxin. So the coral snakes were asked, which one do you want, hemotoxin or neurotoxin?
Coral snakes have both?
Coral snakes decided, I want both.
Wow.
They want both. They are, our small coral is among the 10 deadliest snakes in the world in terms of that toxin.
Yeah.
It is not to be played with. I mean, I can hold them in my hand. I will not recommend that for anyone else to do. And even now, I am even rethinking my contact with some animals. A couple of years ago, I would have had the snake in my hand. Now, I respect chronological advancement, meaning that I am getting older. My reflexes are getting slower. Okay, why doesn't Usain Bolt run anymore? Okay, it starts off literally in the block. When that gun goes off, his muscle and his trigger muscle reflex is not the same as it was when he was in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
So those young boys are going to jump out of those blocks faster, and those muscles are going to twitch faster, and they're going to move faster, and they're going to beat him. Okay, so he knew when to retire. He knows. Same with these here. Even with so many things we do, we slow down with age, that chronological sequence. And the hardest thing for people to do sometimes is to accept that. I have accepted that. I have seen other people who are famous snake handlers die.
Yeah.
Okay? Famous people who have handled wildlife die.
Yeah, because it's unpredictable.
And not just that.
I think as talented as you can be with the handling any animal, or snakes including, you'd never know. You don't know what the snake is going to do next.
Well, you do know based on your experience. So actually, you're better off older than when you were younger because you have more experience with that. But what you cannot do, your mind is telling you you're moving fast, but your body. So, example, you come up to a traffic light and it changes, and there's an old man with a stick just sort of inching across the road. You say, this man moving so slow. In his mind, he blazing road in her. He eating up asphalt and moving fast. So that is the perception. So for example, long time, I used to catch a lot of lizards. And I could have literally gone up to a tree, looked at 2 lizards and like 2 trees and 2 branches and done that and caught both of them. Easily like that. Now I could focus on one and set myself to move as quick as I can. And sometimes all I get is a tail in it. That is me knowing, understanding that I am slowing down. Not much of my mind is still that fast.
Yeah.
But the hands, the trigger response is not. And that is the difference between life and death a lot of times. So something like this, there's steps. Even with handling Cayman, I have fortunately handled hundreds. I have never been bitten. Never. I've been taken for a little role recently with one, never been bitten. I've seen people bitten right in, I remember a studio, we were doing a filming, and we had a blind Cayman we called Stevie, and he got out of his enclosure and was moving. And one of the volunteers went and grabbed his tail to bring him back. And that Cayman swung around and got him. Mount Hope right away, dozens of stitches. It messed him up bad. You know, another one I caught on the pole, the volunteer came to get his head, and he just swung and got him. 23 stitches. One of his fingers still is, and will never be able to function normally. So I have done so much more, but I'm fortunate that I've never gotten bitten. And it's not just fortune. I have seen it happen, and I've went back and employed the best safety strategy possible to ensure that that doesn't happen. So sometimes in the videos with capture and so on, people are like, oh, you don't have to do all of that. We catch that all the time, it's easy. Yeah, you catch one or two and release it in a different situation. I do hundreds, okay? And soon probably pushing into thousands that I would have done. And I understand that I am slower. So the animal has an advantage over me. He wants to defend himself, I want to capture it. His drive and ambition is greater than mine. And with my slowing down, if I do not follow the steps carefully, it can end up in me getting damaged. And I don't want any damage. So I literally am going through the steps in my mind that would have established step 1, you know, secure the tail. Step 2, get the head down. Step 3, cover the eyes. Step 4, cover the mouth. I go through that every single time. I mean, by now, it should be standard operating procedure for me, but I make counting those steps the procedure to ensure that I am confident in what I'm doing, and I come out of that with all my fingers and no blood from me on the ground. That's the most important thing for me. I need my hands to do so many things. So I will not be free handling and handling him unnecessarily. If something, so the tick, the removal of the tick, I will employ a chemical method to get that tick off. Okay? Yeah. Especially since I know he is a pissed off snake.
Really?
He would have been caught and handled. Now he's here in the studio and we're moving around. He's like, just give me one human. Give me one human. You know, just one bite and I will send my message. So I understand that very well. If it was in a more natural environment in the bush, I could have gotten him on the hook.
Is this an adult or?
No.
Baby?
No. A sub-adult, they will go up to, a big one will be up to 6 feet. Okay. They're normally about 4.5 to 5 feet, and they have a much heavier body. And sub-adult, it still has a little bit of yellowing tinge on the tail, but yeah, it's hard to see. Tail sort of tucked in. But when they're young, especially I said, when people call me, how big is it? They said it's about 8, 10, probably 12 inches. Does it have a bright yellow tail? The answer is usually no. I'm saying, okay, it's not a mapipi. They shouldn't be in that area, and it doesn't fit the description. Of course, when they send me the picture, nothing whatsoever, right? So this guy, for extra safety, this container is pretty nicely well sealed and everything, but I still put the tape on it to make sure nobody just does this and lifts it off just by chance. So this guy is literally, it's a beauty.
It is.
It's an amazing pattern.
And it makes me feel as though, because I know in the wild, well, this is just an assumption I made, I don't know if it's true, but when you see anything with this is my opinion, right? When you see anything with anything brightly colored in the wild or anything with fur, it's usually to stay away from it. That's just my opinion, because that's why I pointed out that it looks as though it has fur, and this is why it's probably one of those things that you should stay away from.
Because just the patterning on the vipers, like I said, the corals are quite different. So that
but the corals aren't the corals brightly colored?
Brightly colored, yes,
right.
Very. And the colors represent
my
okay,
point.
So that's the tail. The tail is going to kind of come around there. See he has a little bit of yellow left on the tail.
Yes.
Right there. Okay, so he's a sub-adult. He's almost, but from birth, they are able
Why is it
to
coming out?
deliver a deadly bite.
From birth, okay.
From birth. From the time that they're born, they can bite you.
These
and
snakes,
harm
do
you.
they lay eggs?
No.
Okay.
They're viviparous, so the mother would give live birth. One of the strange things about them is like, I cannot keep up with the snakes we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have 49 species registered, and who is oviviparous and who is viviparous, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going back to science and genetics and so on like that. But it's interesting, yes, they do give live birth, contrary to other accounts of how they do have young. And, well, they do have that lance-shaped head. So going forward in terms of education and letting people know and to understand, the head means nothing. The head means nothing. This is why the snake is here. This snake here, this is who he is, this is what he is. He is venomous, not poisonous.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of stuff on Facebook, and unless it's coming from a credible source, there's a tail there, it has a slight lightly color there. When it's younger, it is bright yellow. It is actually beautiful, and it will actually shake that tail like a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
And you would actually hear rattling because it will be between dry leaves and on the ground, and you would hear that or a little thumping. So the snake is telling you, leave me alone,
Yeah.
I am here. I do not want this encounter.
That tick is walking around just looking for the perfect
right,
bite.
quite ominous. Yeah, where am I going to bite this creature? And he's a massive.
So the tick would not get any of the venom, wouldn't be
hold on one second. It's not a tick.
Okay.
It's not a tick. It's an insect. So one, right away I see 6 legs, so it's an insect. So it's not an arthropod. Okay. All right. So all he is doing is literally just walking around. He's not a bloodsucker at all. He probably got caught in the bag, and then when he was put into here, that's the only thing he can easily walk on, as opposed to the plastic surface. So yeah, it's not a tick. But there was one on the head that Ronald expertly removed. And Ronald, if anybody's out there, much kudos to Ronald for his great skill. It takes some skill to do this properly without hurting the animal. We've gotten many of these, and their heads and their jaws are usually crushed and splayed because, like, yeah, hold on the head. And by the time we get at the animal, we've had to euthanize quite a lot of them because people would have crushed the head out of fear. Not necessarily wanting to, but the head is the dangerous part. So we always employ the CTH method. CTH is control the head. And we tell that to our wildlife techs, we tell that to our volunteers. So you have a snake that's not a friendly snake, it's not an ambassador. Don't freehand it and be playing with the snake like that. Just get it under control, and to get it under control, the only part that can really hurt you is the head. So if you control the head, you ensure safety for yourself, the animal, and people around you. So get to the head, control the head, and get it into a bag or bucket or whatever it takes. But there's a method, there's a way, and again, very congratulations and thank you to Ronald for his work. The snake is in amazing condition and will be released happily somewhere. If you know of an ex whose house you wanted to go behind, you can send it in. Right? I put it out there because, I'm going to get those comments, Hey, how come I find my ex? I'm looking for she for the longest while. Oh, that is my mother-in-law, and over and over and over. And this morning I'm here as a representative, to these reptiles. Stop calling your ex-wife, your ex-girl, your mother-in-law, your boyfriend, or whoever it is, snakes. The snakes don't like that.
Yeah.
Okay? They do not deserve that low of a comment with regard to these here. They're there living their lives, doing their thing.
They don't even know.
Right? So, leave them alone. Basically, okay, so if you go in the bush and you see one, I'm wetting it in a chop. Why? Why? You want to stand your ground legislation so people can defend themselves against people coming into their homes. But you want to go into the snake home and chop him.
No, well, if the snake is in my yard, that's not
If it's in your yard, you call us. Because if you try to chop it, you may end up in a worse situation. Okay? So call us like the people did. I'm surprised they even did that.
Yeah.
That they called, and he came, and he rescued it. And it's an amazing condition.
Do you know if this is a male or female?
Can't tell at this stage, but the females get much heavier bodied.
Okay.
Because they can put down from 5 up to 80 babies. Wow. So they usually get much, So there is some, dimorphism. You can see the difference between them as they age. But at this young stage, it could be passing. It could be a slim boy or, a slim girl or a thick boy. You can't tell. You can't tell there at that stage. But the key thing is, this is the snake that most people encounter when they go in the bush, hiking and so on like that there. The best thing to do is just move around that area. The snake is not going to come running after you. Usually in the day, because they're nocturnal, they're sleeping.
Right.
And your activity, this is why I tell people, when you go in the bush, shut up now. Why you would carry your phone and a Bluetooth speaker and making noise and all kind of nonsense in the bush? Be quiet and listen. Listen for your hike leader saying, please do not step on this log, go around the log and stuff like that there. And it is not as deadly as people make it out to be. You can die eventually.
So if you get a bite from one of these snakes, your first response should be to get to the hospital?
Seek nearest medical center.
Okay.
Seek medical attention. They will stabilize you. You can live for months and months and months and months before the antivenom is applied to you, and then 2 days later you get up and you go home. That's how it works.
Okay, so if you get bitten by one, and you don't go straight to the hospital or some sort of medical facility, you won't die.
Oh, now you're playing with your life. Now you could die, because now the venom is surging through your body. So there are steps, and there are things that people are doing these days that's just very upsetting. You get bitten by a snake. People are buying these snake kits from abroad. Please stop that. You're wasting foreign exchange and you're just fooling yourself, and you'll do something wrong that will create more damage. If you are bitten by a venomous snake, for this snake for example, first thing is the hardest thing to do. Stay calm. If your heart rate increases, your blood circulation increases. So stay calm. Get to the nearest medical facility. So what would that involve? Most likely getting into a car or something like that. Jam that air condition as high and as cold as possible. That will help to slow your metabolism down. Keep your bite area below your heart. Most likely, you will get bitten on your lower extremities, your legs or something like that. Possibly your hands. If it's your hands, you will lay or just sit and just keep your hand area below your heart. Okay, that will slow down the circulation of the venom. Do not suck out the venom. You can't do that. Now, all that movie nonsense, stop that movie nonsense. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay? Just leave it as it is. Do not try to tie it off. What will happen if you tie it off is that you will now concentrate the venom in your hand. Say if you get bitten in your hand and you tie it off, using this, you tie it off, you got this is rubber. You can use this to tie it off there, and it keeps it right there. Your hand will swell. The venom is just going to be concentrated in your hand. And by the time you get to a medical facility, they will tell you, ma'am, sir, it has to be amputated. So instead of just a finger, some damage on that, then now you lose your whole hand. Let your body cope with it as a whole and be calm. Get to your nearest medical facility. Do not try to leave San Fernando to go Sangre Grande. Do not leave Port of Spain to go to Sangre Grande. All hospitals and medical facilities are capable of stabilizing you and then transporting you, if need be, to wherever. So if you go to, say, it happens in Freeport, which is difficult, but let's say somebody messed around, got bitten by this in Freeport. Go to the Freeport Medical Facility. They will stabilize you.
What would they do to stabilize you?
Well, one, you have to get fluids in right away. I got a little knock off the tail there. Then, because it's a hemotoxin, it starts breaking down your blood vessels and prevents your blood from clotting properly. So they would give you the right thing like vitamin K injections and so on like that there, that will help your body to cope with it until you get the antivenom that really brings you out of that whole phase. So they know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, to stabilize you.
What are some of the symptoms that begin happening after a bite? Like sweat, you turn pale?
Yeah, well, after the initial cursing, right? You'll curse everybody and everything around because, of course, now the shock.
Yeah.
That's why now people are going to get you to stay calm. To stay calm, all right? And most of it is not going to be related in the first hour or so to the actual venom. It's just now your mind literally playing tricks on you. You're reacting in a certain way, okay? You're going to expect to feel hot, so you're going to feel hot, okay? It's going to be a little more difficult to breathe after a while because, again, as the hemotoxin takes place and less oxygen moving and so on like that there, it's just going to feel a lot of pressure on your body to move, and you will feel warm. Loosen clothes. Loosen your clothes. So if, for example, you're on a hike and in the bush and you get bitten, a lot of people hike in tights and stuff like that. Remove shoes, remove socks, tight compressive underwear and stuff like that there. Get a knife, cut it. You don't have to remove it and expose the person. Cut waist, loosen belts, brassieres, athletic tops and so on like that there. Loosen. Loose is important because you do not want a pull in or constriction. Remember, the blood has already been affected. You don't want it pulled in and constricted in any way. I mean, best way to get a person on a, on a stretcher or something like that there. And a stretcher can be made like a stretcher. Are you going to stretch anybody? She crazy? 3 t-shirts, 3 normal t-shirts, and 2 pieces of bamboo. You cut there, you go in the bush, you must have a cutlass or something like that there. Run the bamboo through the arms of the shirt and through the body of the shirt, and that person you can bring, that's the best way to bring that person out of the bush.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? Don't try to put them over your shoulder, don't get them to walk. Don't try to get them to walk because they're already bitten on their leg, most likely. Okay? So take off your t-shirts, put 3 of them down, cut 2 6 or 7 foot pieces of bamboo or stick, run it through the arm, through the body, and put 3 of them together and let that person lay on that, and 2 average size strength people can carry that person and bring them out of the bush. That's if you're in a real bad location, bring them out.
Yeah.
Don't try to get a person to walk. That's not a good idea. You're increasing the heart rate, you're putting pressure where the bite is and so on. Do not bandage it, do not tape it, do not suck it, do not bite it, do not buy any of those snake bite kits from away with your nonsense and you're going to pump out venom. You cannot do that, people. You cannot do that. That's why we were actually, next week we were planning to have a program called Venom and have a friend of mine and a mentor, Captain Jeffrey Fubb of the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Venom 1 response team. He was coming here because we deal with wildlife and there is so much nonsense out there that people tell you and these experts and what they say and so on there. So we wanted to get people in a place of knowledge and understanding that would empower them to help. All the hike leaders, all the people carrying people in the bush should know this stuff because I've spoken to quite a few and the stuff that they're saying is wrong.
Yeah.
Very wrong. So that's why I said we need this really, really badly to save lives. If it's just one life saved by just knowing the right thing and approaching the right way, it's worth it. So people, you get bitten, stay calm. And the best, most of the times you get bitten by a snake because you didn't see it. So if you have headphones on and your earbuds and you're in the bush having a time, you're now increasing your likelihood of getting yourself into some form of trouble. If you're in the bush, pay attention to the bush. You're there to be in nature, forest bathe, enjoy those moments. You could listen to that home in your car, all kind of thing when you're going back down the road. Listen to the hike leaders telling you, go this way or don't go this way. Listen for the rustling and the songs. When you see a tree falling across your pathway, don't go and jump on it and say, this is a nice selfie. That's most likely a nice area for these animals to lay asleep. So what has been known to happen is that a tree falls, or a nice mossy old tree falls across a path. And these animals use those paths because when you are not there during the day, the wildlife use those same paths or corridors going through the forest. So agouti, rats, mice, we all walk the same place. The agouti don't go and fight through the bush like that. That's not how it goes. They're paths and they use that. The deer. So if a deer passes and would have trodden down a path, a wild hog, the other animals will use that. They're not going to go through the thorn bush and the bramble bush and they wait a while. They use that. So the snake knows this because he gets all these smells, all these things passing here. So he's going to do what? Lie in wait. Okay? Or sleep in that area. So when he gets up in the night and they're passing now, best chance of catching a manikou, best chance of catching a spiny rat, a agouti, or whatever it is. But also, best chance of catching some city-slicking Trinis who don't understand and listen. Don't go and jump up on that log and jump and take your selfie and picture and lie down on it and stuff like that, looking like a mermaid. Because the first person going over probably gets away. The snake is sleeping. The second person, the vibration, the snake is like, what's going on here? Third person, the snake is like, nah. These people pissing me off now. The fourth person is like, the next man who come around here, I'm going to have to deal with them. And then number 4, go on there too now, and then the snake gets you. Okay? So please, there's no need to kill them. Where they live is in their home. This one strayed a little further down near people's home. It was in a drain in Sawa, but high up in the hills. So he's still in his territory. They don't find them in those areas because people would have killed them out, basically.
Yeah.
but they are around. And it's just a matter of being aware and being sensible. And all you have to do is keep your eyes open and don't go and try to hold all sorts of odd-looking branches. This is not a fuzzy branch or anything. This is a venomous creature that will bite you if it feels threatened. It's not biting you out of spite or anger, only if it feels threatened. It's only going to be defensive. They know they cannot eat you. But if you get into their zone and into their area and violate their space, there will be consequences.
Yeah.
So, this is our guy, Mr. Mapipi, Ferdinand, and this is the reason why we have the mongoose in Trinidad and Tobago. They brought the mongoose specifically to deal with these guys because people in agriculture, especially in the cane, when they encountered them, they were terrified for the day. You know, and people would have been bitten before and would have died before. So they said, hey, we see mongoose, the small brown Indian mongoose, killing cobra in India. India has sugar cane also. But they said, well, if you bring it here, they will eat this. But now again, humans do things without thinking of the bigger picture. This is a nocturnal animal. He's moving from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The mongoose is a diurnal animal. He is moving from 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. until 5:30. So they never meet. But Mr. Mongoose has to eat. So he would have eaten many other snakes that are not harmful, turtles, all sort of different. And a mongoose will overpower and kill almost anything that it can. Once you're not bigger than him, he's taking care of you. And that is what has happened here. So when they're tired of mashing up wildlife, they move on to your duck eggs, your chicken eggs, and so on.
Wow.
So those are the people who know and feel it the most. And in places like Hawaii, they're destroying a lot of the native animals there.
Yeah.
So, you know, we did some really silly things, and now we have to sort of make up for it. But Mr. Mongoose and this guy, they do not know each other at all. At all, because they won't meet.
Yeah. Well, I guess as humans, we think we know best, and Mother Nature says.
Yeah, you know.
You don't.
Thousands of years for a system to be perfected. And we can come write one paper or do one Google search and we know what to do. No, people. I mean, if you're going to start searching, at least use the better frameworks of artificial intelligence. But for that to work, what people don't understand, for AI to work, you have to ask the questions in a specific way so you can get specifically what you need. You ask a broad way, you get a broad answer.
Yeah.
That doesn't really answer your question. Okay? And then AI is again limited by situation, circumstance, and information put in. It can try to analyze all it wants. So AI can tell you certain things, but I can tell you how this works in Trinidad based on experiences, not of myself, but of many people who have gone before, and the pattern and the behavior of the animal. One day it will get there. But for now, if we tell you, do it this way, the experts who can be considered experts within a particular field, give them a little bit of salt and, you know, focus more on what they're saying than what Google tells you with regard to that situation.
Yeah.
And here we say, leave it alone. It's not going to jump at you and pelt at you, all of that there. It has a lightning fast strike. Okay, it's going to go and hit you quickly. Many times you do get what's called a dry bite.
Right.
So it would literally not even open its mouth. It would just bump you with the front of its nose and by its fangs there to tell you, leave me alone. And many snakes do that. Leave me alone. He doesn't want to waste his venom on you. He can't eat you. Okay, and also some of them are fear. A lot of snakes fear of locking into prey, because they'll lock into a prey. Now that prey is going to be, if it's big, can damage them. So they're very judicial in their use of their venom. But just about any time when you just harass this animal so much it has no cause, it will probably literally breast it on you or wet you with it. And that venom again, 50 mils to kill a big man, 350 in storage.
Wow.
So that's why we got to be careful.
Yeah. So take Mr. Mead's advice and leave these creatures alone. Be very mindful. If you do get bitten by one, stay calm. That's the main thing. Stay calm and get to the nearest medical facility ASAP.
If you can also take a selfie That'll be good. Well, I'm just kidding. When I say take a selfie, the venom, there's some universal ones now, but they're species specific. So if they know what you've been bitten with, they can deal with it in a better manner. You're helping yourself by having someone
take a picture of the snake.
Take a picture, identify the snake, be able to describe it. Because the picture is the best, because when you ask someone to describe it, the kind of things I just hear when people try to describe animals.
Yeah.
Firstly,
I think too, when you've been bitten and after all this, you might see things that wasn't there.
Oh yeah. So you've seen colors, right? So suddenly become colorblind. Well, size, sadly, especially women, I'm making a sexist comment, especially women cannot tell size. So they're going to be like, it big.
Yeah, if I see this snake in my yard, I would refer to it as
a big snake.
Massive.
Yeah,
I would say, it have this big snake.
Yeah, it wrap around the car, they try to eat the house. And that sort of thing like that. It's all, see, so as it walks along, you just see him twitching, but it's just a simple bug. A relative to the stink bug, but he doesn't smell, fortunately. And as he walks along, this thing and it tickles him. He just twitches like, oh, get off of me. And he's not letting go that long at all. As far as he has no worry. The snake can't do him anything, so he's just cruising along. But people, really important. If you have a situation, feel free to contact us, and we will have one of our trained wildlife techs try to assist you. We had a situation recently with a red-tailed boa, and the lady just kept calling and calling. I said, ma'am, we can't be everywhere in Trinidad at the same time. We're an all-volunteer organization. People are going to school, people are going to work. Okay, had you called me half an hour before, I was in that area. I'm not in that area anymore. I had heading the other way. Yeah, well, what are I going to do about the snake? I said, firstly, the snake is not harmful in any way. Our responding to you is really for the snake, so you don't go crazy and call somebody to chop it up. But the snake will do you or your family nothing, absolutely nothing. But I don't like it. I said, yes, I understand, and that's why we're taking this call, and that's why we're having this conversation. But you have to work with me here, okay? I said, sadly, you call the ambulance and they don't come. They're paid people and stuff like that there. We have volunteers who are doing other things, and we're trying to help you out. It is not an emergency situation. It's just an unpleasant, unwanted situation. We're doing the very best we can. And that's what we try to get people to understand. Everybody who is doing this is giving up their time freely. They're using their vehicle, their gas, their resources, whatever, freely to assist the animals, and in many cases to bring some comfort to the homeowners or people in school or whatever it is. Please have some understanding with that regard.
Yeah.
That's all we ask.
Yes, guys. So, that was a lot this morning. I'm glad that we got to see the snake, what it looks like, and first time. This is my first time, and probably some of your first time as well, seeing one of these guys. Now I know what to look for. All right, so just to, again, if you get bitten by one, stay calm, get to the nearest medical facility, and keep your, keep the bite away from your heart, or below your heart.
The bite area below your heart.
Below your heart. Meaning if you get bitten in your hand, keep your hands down.
On your leg, just sit in the back of a car. Use the air conditioning in the car.
Don't elevate. Yes.
Yeah, keep your body cool. The cooler you become, if you can just literally doze off, that's really the best thing.
Okay.
If you can just, people are meditating now and you can slow their breathing down and just relax. That's the ideal thing.
Yeah.
Now is the time to practice those yoga moves, This sitting in the back of the car, relax. Hard thing to do, but if you want the best outcome, you need to do it. Just relax and just give the opportunity a chance to evolve to the point where you can get your treatment and you can survive.
Yeah.
Right? A bite from our venomous snake is not a death sentence if you just take these simple steps.
Yes. So y'all can reach out to Mr. Ricardo Mead at 366-4369. That's the number we have for him. So if you have any concerns, if you see one of these in your yard or anything at all, reach out to Mr. Mead and he will assist.
Right. And when we're finished here, as we do often when we have animals on AM Prime Wild Wednesday, we will be taking some selfies. that will be posted to Instagram.
Maybe.
Right, Nish? We're going to hold this bad boy and...
I mean, obviously through the clear case.
Of course. What do you think? I was going to take it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Through the case, we'll just take a couple pictures. You know, like I said, I am not, there's no need for me to handle this animal. I'm not proving any point by handling it, so we'll just leave it literally right there. Actually, for me, I would have actually been more comfortable if it were a larger specimen, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
It's just the nature of my hands and so on.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to handle constrictors and so on than smaller. I find the little guys a little slippery, if you can, you know, use that term. They're just a little slippery. So if it was a big snake and I can literally hold the head in my hands there and I can use a pencil and extend and show the fangs, I'll be comfortable doing that. But this little guy, oh boy, not there. You know, I can do it, but there is no need to do it.
And we don't need it to be done right now.
Correct.
Anyway,
I don't want to join
seeing
the
it through the case was enough.
Yeah, I don't want to join the ranks of the deceased. Oh, like I said, it's like one die, but I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
I have a bad heart. Literally.
Well, Mr. Mead, thank you so much for bringing this guy on to the program this morning. Thank you for coming, as always.
Thank you for having me.
Always make the efforts, and we appreciate it 100%. Yeah, so that brings us to the end of our show this morning. Don't forget you can find us on our YouTube or Facebook, where you can leave your comments and suggestions for us to engage with you. You can head to WESN.cc to engage with us now, and your comments can be featured on AM Prime. You can also reach out to us via our WhatsApp 6829376. And yes, we'd love to hear from you. So, oh, sorry. Before I forget, our special quote this morning: if you believe... No. I think that's enough snakes for now. Our quote this morning is by Wayne Dyer: if you believe it will work, you'll see opportunities. If you believe it won't, you will see obstacles.
What are you seeing today?
I believe today will be a good day.
Opportunities.
Good.
Very good.
So once again, if you believe it will work, you will see opportunities. If you believe it won't, you will see obstacles. So take that, meditate on it, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, stay inspired, stay informed. And we have Sean Michael Small on the hour of 8 o'clock with Talking Point. So don't go too far. See you back here again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Hi, I'm Claudette, radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The community hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today. The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Get ready for the rhythm, the rivalry, and the raw talent. Saturday, 23rd August, Pravi QRC presents the first ever Magnificent 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash, celebrating World Steel Pan Day. 7 elite school steel orchestras go head-to-head in a thrilling showdown of skill and style. Witness music, passion, and national pride as 7 invitational schools pan clash at Queen's Royal College, Bishop Anstey College, San Juan North Secondary, Presentation College San Fernando, St. James Secondary, Belmont Secondary, Tranquility Secondary, and St. Francois Girls College battle in rhythm and style. The Magnificent 7 Invitational Schools Pan Clash, Saturday, 23rd August at 1 p.m. Be there when history plays in steel. Don't miss it.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man is being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
WESN.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Opposition questions education plans. Imbert presses the government on the Exxon deal. 2 dead in PTSD highway crash. And internationally, Gaza truce proposal awaits Israel's response. Now for the details. St. Anne's East MP Dr. Nyan Gatsby-Dolly is calling on Education Minister Dr. Michael Dowlath to clarify the future of several school programs. She raised concerns about delays in the book grant scheme, the discontinuation of the vacation remedial program, and the promised laptops for new Form 1 students. She also questioned support for students preparing for online CSEC exams and called for updates on police patrols in and around schools to tackle violence. Diego Martin Northeast MP Colum Imbert is demanding transparency on the production sharing contract signed with ExxonMobil for ultra-deepwater exploration. He said Trinidad and Tobago may not see oil revenues for at least a decade, as Exxon would first recover costs before the state earns any income. Imbert also defended the sale of Trin City Mall, criticized the government's handling of foreign exchange shortages, and argued that its wage offer to public servants was no different from the last administration's. In response, MP Devendranath Tanko accused Imbert of hypocrisy, saying he created the Forex crisis and was now spreading fear to distract the public. 2 people are dead and several others injured after a PTSD deluxe bus collided with a flatbed truck on the Solomon Hochoy Highway near Freeport. The victims have been identified as driver Mustafa Khan and passenger Roxanne Phillip, a security officer. Khan died at the scene while Philip was trapped under the wreckage. The Transport and Homeland Security ministers visited the site as emergency teams worked to free passengers who were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Internationally, Hamas says it has accepted a new ceasefire hostage release plan brokered by Qatar and Egypt, but Israel is yet to respond. The proposal includes a 60-day pause in fighting, with around half of the remaining hostages to be freed while negotiations continue. However, Israel has maintained it will only accept a full deal with guarantees the release of all hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel plans to fully occupy Gaza, with cabinet approval expected this week for a new military operation in Gaza City. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
WESN.
One of the things that I experience when we're in normal traffic conditions, because right now school is basically out, of course, we're in the middle of, well, no, we're just past by a few days, the middle of August, so we get to look forward to when school opens, and probably what is the worst traffic period of the year. For whatever reason, September comes, and it's almost like if everybody is so accustomed to the open roads without the hustle and bustle of the additional school children trying to get to schools, so the additional vehicles and the additional crowded maxis and so on, that we have to adjust. But even during this time when your roads are open and free, there are still bad drivers on your road. Now, usually, I get to experience it when my route has more cars on the road. But that's my commute to work. Outside of my commute to work, I've had on occasion reason to have to drive extra defensively because you basically question if the other driver knows what he's doing. The last time I wasn't driving, but essentially someone reversed from a side street into a road, and by doing so, they blocked both lanes. We were oncoming and they started kind of late. It was one of those things where, what are you thinking? What if our driver was slow to react? That might have been a major accident. And unfortunately, something like that happened on the highway, I believe, yesterday. 8 a.m., bus driver, allegedly a flatbed truck, comes off the shoulder suddenly enough that the bus does not have enough time to maneuver around him. I don't know if the truck driver assumed the bus was driving slow, but there was a significant accident that I believe left 3 people dead and 23 other passengers, some of whom from that were wounded. But given the fact that there were 26 people on the bus, potentially speaking, one could argue, we should breathe a sigh of relief that it's not worse. The reason why I want to bring this up is this is the exact type of scenario that frightens me, both for the irresponsible drivers who do it, but more importantly, the regular drivers who will be the victims of it. And then there's another stage where we already know some people are very confident in their driving ability. And to those people, what I would always say is, we're not necessarily questioning your driving ability. What happens when someone does something stupid and you don't have time to react? Now, by all accounts, the bus driver was a safe driver, and it could just be that, look, depending on the circumstances, there were eyewitnesses. We'll see if an investigation has to be made. We'll see if the other driver is culpable or not, right? Maybe it will be inconclusive, I don't know. But it doesn't seem as though the bus driver, at least according to reports, was driving at a reckless speed. But this is just one of those things where it's why I have gotten more and more cautious over the years, even when I don't have to be. Oh, you have the right of way, why are you stopping? Because I don't trust people. That's just the bottom line. And that's a hell of a way to live, right? All of we is one family. Until we get on the roads, and then we are entitled to drive as fast as we want, to cut off whoever we want, and to hog the road however much we want. That's our society. Because we have a right to overtake, so even if someone is driving on the speed limit, we're going to overtake you anyway and break the speed limit. Because we are entitled to do so, for whatever reason. But the problem is, it's not just about you and your life, and you think, oh, well, I could manage the risk to me. It is the risk that you put others in. And this truck driver, if, because people want to adjudicate the situation, you know, online and in rum shops, and I'm not saying he is guilty, and I'm not pronouncing. But if he is found that he did anything wrong, then throw the book at him, please. Because it's drives like that, assuming that it is what is reported, a bad drive. Those are some of the things that worry me and bother me the most. Because it's not as though there's one guy on my morning commute that bad drives people. No, it's multiple cars. I tell you, they'll look at you oncoming, and they'll wait, and then they will pull out at the last moment, almost like if they're daring you to hit them, despite the fact that they don't have the right of way. So, to some extent, I am surprised that we don't have more accidents, to be honest. given the nature of how we drive. Things like this could happen over and over again. And you know what? Things like this, yes, this is what the merit points should be for, not for some parking violation on top of an excessive fine. Like, I get it, you have a parking situation in certain parts of the country. Listen, just wrecking someone's car is enough. Or just a fine is enough. Now, the problem with the fine is the whole judicial system is in a mess. I don't know how many people successfully challenge tickets that they have no right challenging, but it is what it is. This is what the merit point should be for. Unfortunately, we don't even know how to debate properly, because when the situation came up, the people who were for the merit points did not necessarily understand how to effectively separate the circumstances under which a lot of the public were complaining about and the actual practical circumstances where it may or may not make a difference if given a chance. So they want to debate, no, we should keep everything because of reckless drivers. Let the more mundane violations suffer extra. That's Peter paying for Paul. And it's sloppy advocacy like that, and that's what I'm not apologizing for nothing. Sloppy. Even if the press misrepresented your views, then it's up to you to try to ensure that your views are properly represented. But I don't think that the press misrepresented some of the arguments over this matter. But it's sloppy advocacy that causes an issue to become cloudy, to become murky. The point is lost. And then eventually it renders a situation either ineffective, unfair, and disliked. And at the end of the day, our situation, a lot of our situations are self-inflicted. So you have to ask, to what extent noise pollution, reckless driving, illegal parking, to what extent is it culturally acceptable, and thus the majority of it is ignored by the authorities because they don't want to have to deal with it. People aren't going to respect the law and change culture in order to change their behavior patterns, in order to reduce things like road traffic fatalities or noise disturbances for people who critically should not be subjected to those things. It's almost like if we can't actually treat with problems, we only treat with our agendas. Anyway, speaking of noise pollution, not too long ago we had concerned Citizens Against Noise Pollution, TNT. They are one of two groups, at least I was reported, I haven't seen any more, the Blind Welfare Association is the other, that welcome the government's announcement to shift for private citizens to only legally be allowed to buy noiseless or silent fireworks, which to me is a low-hanging fruit that to some extent I don't understand exactly why the previous administration didn't do it yet. I don't know if we don't necessarily have lobby groups, but that doesn't mean we don't have private lobbying. That's as far as I'll say about that. Regardless, this is a relatively easy solution. And I'm sorry, I don't necessarily have any consideration for the fireworks vendors, because to some extent, as much as they want to say that they're being responsible, they know that it's a contentious issue. It's similar to when we had styrofoam manufacturers and we wanted to get better, more easily disposable products that would biodegrade instead of just perpetuate their styrofoam molecules. Yeah, it'll break apart, but it'll still be there as a hazard to the environment, which could then eventually get back to humans. People know what's what. Companies know what's what. Okay, fine, you want to give them time to transition? Give them time, but make a decision. So at this point now, when this government says this is the way it is, I have no issue with this, because this is something that for the betterment of society is an easy decision. Too many people like to use fireworks recklessly in the first place. This deals with the noise aspect, but not with the danger aspect. So this issue is not over, but at the end of the day, I would at least give my appreciation, like the Concerned Citizens Against Noise Pollution and the Blind Welfare Association, on this decision. Now the trick is hopefully it is properly enforced, right? But there are multiple levels where you could foresee enforcement failure. Just an update, the Commissioner of Police says firearm applications are safe. So people don't need to necessarily panic. Those who put in their applications and are concerned they have to go through the process again. The only files with regards to firearm files were those brought to his office for weekly education. So there will be some of you who will, unfortunately, might be contacted by the police with regards to what needs to be replaced. But the whole database itself was not affected. And then the commissioner brought up to the fact that they have issues with the building, which is just one more thing. The reason why on the government side we don't maintain our things well is that's where government likes to cut budgets. That's where they like to skimp on spending. Now we'll see, at a time when crime is an issue and national security is an issue like never before, will this administration want to skimp on the maintenance of police headquarters? Essentially, we'll wait and see. That's not a dig. It's literally me saying, I don't know, we have to wait and see for the budget. I don't know what they're going to do. They could say what they're going to do now. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Now, there's one thing I want to get into that I find, if it was not so serious, it would be one hell of a joke. One hell of a joke. Now, of course, as you know, we have Forex issues. So, apparently there's been new rounds of cutting credit card limits by 50%, right? Well, this is what former Minister Imbit is saying, if government's solution is to do this. Now, the thing about it is, I don't know about the rest of you, but to some extent, I don't necessarily want to hear anything from the former minister about credit card limits being cut, because we've had multiple rounds of that done by the banks themselves. So at this point, if that is the trend, regardless of who instigates it, who is he to speak about it? It happened under your watch, whether you authorize it or not. Because at the end of the day, we can't spend Forex that we don't have. And the Forex crisis can't be solved in 4 months. Now, I know Stuart Young said that he had a plan and he was going to speak to the banks. Notice how, for the good of the country, he's not necessarily looking to reveal his great ideas to make things better for the rest of us for the next 5 years. No. Let's not give the current administration any good ideas, right? Or the flip side is maybe he didn't have anything. Maybe he was just paying lip service. But then we get into a wonderful exchange, because while I don't want to hear former Minister Imbut about a measure under which similar cuts happened during his term in office, the current Minister of Finance, to some extent, is no better. Because he has I believe it was a press conference where he's reiterating the point that government financial resources are limited. But then he wants to act as though the question of where you're going to find the money is not pertinent. And want to lambast the previous administration, or Stuart Young, you wanted to know where we were going to find the money so you could spend the money? That doesn't really make much sense, right? If you think about it. The PNM is so arrogant. Why would they think that you would be able to find sources of revenue that they won't be able to find sources of revenue? Not saying that you can't. I'm not saying that the UNC is incapable of doing so. I'm saying, why would the PNM think that? They think themselves, seemingly based on how they, strutted around in the campaigns for the election, as though they knew everything. They still act like if they know everything. So psychologically, how are they looking to you for solutions? It was a pertinent question. I asked it either at the same time or before Stuart Young. And you can't come on a platform and say, well, money is limited. You can't even find the money to refund property tax. That unethical, immoral tax. But we can't refund it though because we can't find the money. But we'll find the money for everything else somehow. And you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't double down on, we're going to find the money. But we can't find money for certain things. We can't find money to correct an unethical decision. But we could find money to maintain WASA in the state that it's in. Oh my gosh, look how many jobs were lost here. Look how many jobs were lost here. But we saved these WASA jobs, but, we had to get rid of these CPEP and ERP jobs. Granted, there's more dimensions to that, but just on the surface. You didn't come forward, you didn't come up front to say there were concerns about not just corruption in CPEP and ERP, but with criminality. Yes, technically we all knew it. But that's not the reason that you gave. The reason that you gave was political. And now you want to come after the fact and say, oh no, but there were all these other things too. There were all these other things. But yes, I don't understand. If there's not enough money, because that's what you're claiming, then why is the question where you're going to find the money not pertinent, regardless of who asked it? Why is that not an important question? Why is that a question that you need to find a way to think about it? You're going to try and downplay that question while admitting that you have financial constraints? Because here's the reality. The more the UNC says, the more the current administration, the more the Prime Minister says, don't worry, we will find the money, the less you could then come to the public after the fact and say, we have difficulties with finding enough resources to finance whatever so-and-so wants or whatever the public demands that they need, etc., etc. That it's not necessarily dissimilar. It's not exactly the same, but it's not dissimilar to the position that the former administration tried to take when they themselves were trying to say, look how much growth we have. There's nothing going wrong with the economy, nothing to see here, but we have to reduce the fuel subsidy because things are bad. But look how good everything is looking. And then in court admit that the next 3 years, well, this would be, I believe, the first year, it's going to be rough. It's not my fault you're sending mixed signals. It's not my fault that Stuart Young, yes, not necessarily the best person you want to hear from because it's not like he had any great ideas he was able to execute. Ask a pertinent question. A broken clock is right twice a day. I said that about the UNC in opposition. It's true with the PNM in opposition too. More importantly, he's not the only one that asked that question. But you want to pin that question on him because then you can make it about the speaker, not about the question. And then you can mama-guy people. Why should Young ask that for? He shouldn't be asking that. Look at what he did. Look at what he did. But he's not the only one asking it. But you use him and the association of him to the question to kill it so that you don't have to answer it. Because the truth is, for the most part, it seems like you really don't know. You don't have an answer. You don't have a good answer. So all you can do is make promises that you are not certain you could keep. Write checks that you're not certain that you could cash. And we are left now wondering. This is why when we look at the budget in the future, there is still hope that it will be a better tomorrow. But will we all necessarily just have that expectation? I don't know. I don't think so. Not people who are seriously looking at the economy, who know better, who know that at the end of the day, there might be circumstances outside of your control, the current administration. And we might have to deal with tough times until some of these natural gas projects and oil projects come on stream, which won't be for years. But the learned people who can manage their own expectations They're not necessarily going to unfairly blame you, but people who buy into, don't worry, we'll find the money. If you can't find the money, don't blame them for blaming you for falling short because you made promises. So it's ridiculous. We have a former and current Minister of Finance, and to be honest, it was not an upgrade. It was not. And if we already had a situation where there were a lot of questions behind the running of the nation's finances under the previous administration, and now you come here and you don't put your best foot forward, at least not publicly. At least not publicly. Maybe they privately put their best foot forward. Maybe they secretly put their best foot forward. That's all I'll say about that. But publicly, best foot forward? Nah. If we have serious problems, we want to hear serious talk, not schoolyard argument level politicking on national television. Don't waste our time. And now, I'm going to have a serious conversation with someone who is serious about the country, unlike certain people, certain other ministers of finance. I have a serious former minister of finance to speak to me next on Talking Point. Stay tuned.
Welcome to ASTI, Advanced Solutions Technical Institute. We offer hands-on training in drone technology, fiber optics, hybrid, security, business support, and more. Our programs are built to equip you with real-world skills for today's evolving industries. Get certified, get hired, and take your career to the next level with ASTI. Call 778-2135 or email info@astitnt.com. ASTI, where learning meets opportunity.
KDM Health Limited says, test yourself for STDs in the privacy of your own home. Our self-help test kits for all STDs are available at our wholesale office in Chaguanas. Call 283-1423, visit our website at www.kdmhealthtt.com or email us at kdmhealthlimited@gmail.com to place your orders. Available at all health institutions and pharmacies. Contact us for a free list of products and prices.
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth, just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios. But they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world: diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
I'm back here on talking about the WSND Content Capital. Sure, Michael Small, joined by the good lady herself, former Minister of Finance, and I want to emphasize that today because I just lambasted the last 2 Ministers of Finance for their poor arguments, let's put it that way, on the debate platform, even though they weren't actually debating anything. But now we have someone who's a bit more serious with regards to how she approaches the work that is currently necessary.
Well, you could say I'm serious because I'm not in the political domain in the sense that I am, representing one of the other parties, so it gives me ability to be a little bit more less confrontational. But anyway, having said that, last week we had started with looking at the 100 days. Of course, we've gone beyond the 100 days, but we're looking at, we broke off, I was looking at the pan factories, so I'm going to just go through as much as I can, but I do want to look at the energy.
Go ahead, yes.
Right, I do want to, whatever happens, I need to look at that because that is key to our economy, and we've seen significant so-called, well, we have to look and see how it pans out, but it certainly looks very promising with ExxonMobil making a significant investment in Trinidad. So I want to end with that and give a word of caution so that we ensure that there's transparency and accountability, and we learn from Ghana's errors or missteps or whatever you want to call it. The Prime Minister Jack Dew has said they're right. We didn't get what we should have gotten. So let me start with the National Statistical Institute. There's a bill that's been around since 2018, and we are now in 2025. We wonder why the former administration has been accused of the dilatory or delaying tactics. I mean, there's nearly everything that you can think of that was around even before they came back into office in 2015. For some reason or other, we have never been able to, either where just assent it or where it's necessary, proclaim it, where you need to have everything in place, like the regulations, etc. So with the National Statistical Institute, I think that's an important initiative because I think there's an excellent article actually by, I won't say which newspaper, but I thought it was really an excellent article talking about managing without data. And I think it is readily recognized that in Trinidad and Tobago, the National Statistical Institute, or what we have, the CSO, which is the current iteration of it, it's no question that the CSO is lagging in data. And in today's world, where everything moves very quickly, ICT, IT, I mean, everything is done very quickly. You have to keep up to date, and you can't afford to have, or say, making decisions without data. Such a good article dealing with the same point. And so where they said it should be transferred into the National Statistical Institute, and it needs the support of the opposition. It's languished for several years, which is what I had just said. But what they are saying to you is that when you're trying to go forward and plan, which is what a government is doing with a debate, they anticipate what will happen, what they will be able to accomplish. When they do real-time data, and they have lag data, and sometimes weak data, and inadequate data. And another thing that applies is that a lot of the data you cannot insist, you cannot make it mandatory. The language is used as may. So oftentimes the parties who should provide you with the necessary data either do not or do not do it in a reasonable time or don't do it at all. So that affects them now. So the new legislation is intended to repeal and replace the Statistics Act, which is what it is governed under. So the National Statistical Institute, as I said, it's been around for a long while under the former administration. And I would just want to make some recommendations, apart from what the Act will say. I think some of the things that we want to look at is the labor unemployment. And why I'm bringing it up again is because I've always been stressing that you need to look at the labor force participation rate, which we know doesn't include 16 to 60, but you know a lot of people are not included. But the point about it is the lower the labor force participation rate, the unemployment rate will really not reflect the actual data, because many people have not been more people who are not looking for jobs or not participating, the less you can rely on the unemployment rate. You can't. And I give an example. United States, I checked it before. They're saying unemployment rate has gone up to 4%, but their labor force participation rate is 62.8, nearly 63%. The last one they did, which was Q1 of 2025, so it's lagging, was 54.1%. And with all the firings of the CPEP workers and URP who come under the employment, although they're social programs.
This is the 54 is our
yes,
country,
Q1 of 2025. Yeah. So we don't even have up to date. But if you're looking, if it was 54.1% in the first quarter, which would be up to April in this year, then you can only anticipate that it has gone even lower, the participation rate, because of the CPEP, URP, and forestry terminations, because they are included. When you're dealing with unemployment or employment rates, you do include those social programs. So now that they have been taken out, you can anticipate two things. The labor force is going to go down, participation is going to go down, and also the unemployment rate is going to go down. Now, the thing about the labor force participation, just to recap on that, you have to be considered not looking for a job for a number of weeks, or there's a symmetry that your skills do not match up with the job opportunities out there. So there are other factors you take into account. But certainly everything indicates that we are doing worse. So even though they're saying the unemployment rate is 4.9, that's really not correct. It's not an accurate reflection of how many are out there, at least, and that's lag data I'm dealing with. So that I would like to see, getting those data up to date. And also, what I would like to see is reinstating the Gini coefficient, because every UN, every international organization will tell you, if you want to have sustained development in a country, you have to have a more equitable distribution of income. So that's an important factor in development of a country's economy. And what we do not have, we have the the average GDP. So we know that that is all the value of the goods and services produced in our country, in our case, in a fiscal year, including private and public, and you divide it by the population size. So it looks okay. You know, people say that, you know, it's reported Trinidad one of the high-earning economies in the Caribbean and in the Latin American region. But what you do not have, and that's what's important, and what they did have at the time, you need to see the income distribution to see whether your country is developing, to see whether all the productivity levels are in place, and that people are all benefiting from the economy, as should be the case. And so the Gini coefficient, as I mentioned before, tells you the space or the differential or the difference between those in the high income bracket and those in the low income bracket. And what it shows you, as it will, is that probably you'll get 2 or 3% of people earning in the high income bracket, whichever they decide that, and then everybody else earning what they earn. And therefore you can really decide what is the spread of the income in your country, as opposed to the average income, which does not reflect the reality. It does not reflect the reality. And another one I'm just going to mention very quickly is the median. Putting in the median income. And why they encourage that is for developmental purposes. It's a good measure to really see if you're meeting the development targets. I don't know if I want to try to explain it, but very quickly, let me try.
The average, yeah.
So they say use the average, you use the average, no question about it. You use the Gini coefficient, right? Because you're
each
breaking
one
it down.
will give you a different insight.
And the average one is really misleading, with all due respect.
That's why, because
absolutely,
it really doesn't speak to
the reality on the ground.
A very high end, a very small high end
exactly.
could skew the average.
Absolutely, and that's what you're going to find out. Now, if you find out that the average GDP is shared by 50% of the population, well, you're okay. But if you find out it's 3% of the people doing that, then you know you're not doing a good job.
That actually are in the average.
Right.
Because for everyone at the high end, there's going to be subsequent people at the lower end of the scale.
Yes. So I know it was developed by this gentleman from Italy, which is not perfect, but it's certainly a measure. And they use a median income, which is, say, gives you an indication of whether your country is really developing. It's a developmental measure. They say because, should I worry? I don't want to go into it. I mean,
sure.
I could, you know, but anyway, that's something that we
Let's just go with the fact that, look, you need to have as many data points as you can, and you need to understand the weaknesses of each one, so that then when you do so, like with the average, you could, because there have been other economic issues around the world where people just hone in on the average, and because it oversimplifies everything, you're kind of left with a very incomplete assessment.
Inaccurate too.
Inaccurate,
you know?
right.
Very inaccurate. So the other thing I was going to speak to quickly, because last time when I was on, I got a little bit of a coughing. I hope that doesn't happen this time again. And I had started looking at the pan, steel pan. And what I didn't note is that the former administration gave grants for the pan, but this administration has promised to implement or to establish a pan factory, which is a whole different kettle of fish. And in looking at the research, and I think it was a very helpful, I found out there's a private company operating in the west of Trinidad. I just won't say exactly where, but you could go on their website and it gives you the history of Trinidad. It tells you about tuning into tutorials that you can go in with pan online, I suppose, and the types of pans that they will tune as well as have for sale, and that's an excellent export market. But it's good for the larger corporations to do that. But the government would need to step in and give that ability or facility to the small and micro business persons who are aspiring. Because I gave you the story already, or some time ago, about a young man who had severe disabilities, not cognitive, but severe disabilities that would have challenged anybody else. And he used to play pan, and and then he developed his business, a small business, but it was good enough for him to build a nice house, have a wife and children, and send them to university. So that's what the government should also look at when they're doing the offering the pan factory. They should also consider the micro businessman, because although we are a small country of 1.3 million, there's the whole world we have the whole world. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of customers, because nobody else developed pan but this country. And that's what we need to sell to the world before it's too late and it gets lost. So we have an excellent opportunity for those people who are the lower end, who are already, many of those CPAP workers, I'm sure, and European workers are already in the panists, tuners, etc. So they're already ready to make their contribution. What they need is the funding, the professional training, the marketing to help them to launch, and they will be providing foreign exchange, sustainable income, because pan is not going away at all, and a whole world as its customers. And I would like to encourage the government to continue to that they will make it a reality, not just the funding of the former government as I understood it, but actually the government-sponsored pan factories, and also looking at the small and micro enterprise. The one last thing I'm going to look at quickly was the procurement, and then I'll look at the energy, which is really what I'm going to have to look at based on time constraints. Now, the Procurement Act of 2015 was really, in all fairness, it was something that had been worked on by the Manning administration. Yes, it was. And certainly a document had been prepared by the division of the Ministry of Finance, looking at the way in which tenders were awarded and the shortcomings. It's a white paper that anybody can read, and putting forward for the enactment of Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. And so it did come to fruition in 2015. However, when there was a change of government, and I do think it's something we have to look at, there are two things I want to mention. The Section 7, which was amended and made provision for exemption of certain businesses or enterprise or sectors from the oversight of the procurement regulator, the office of the procurement regulator, which is defeating the purpose of the regulations. It is done for transparency, accountability, and value for money. Those are the three watchwords, and it's well known that procurement legislation, or the lack of it, you have a lot of, because it's public, so if you're looking at the government, you know, opportunities for corruption, and of course abuse and misuse of public funds, which belong to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So what they did exclude and had it passed, because I thought it was, anyway, you know, very questionable. The Procurement Act needed a 3/5 majority, but when they came in 2020 to make this amendment, they only had to, according to the law, they only had to make a simple majority to pass it because it was already law and they were just amending what was an original, had already been passed under a 3/5 majority. So they didn't need the support of the opposition, that's what I'm saying. And one of the things that they exempted was legal services. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but we all know on both sides of the aisle, I mean, you're talking about billions of dollars. And it's, by the way, we keep focusing on the Attorney General's office. There are a lot of state agencies that hire attorneys and have some of them on retainers. I'm sure if one calculated the funds that are outsourced to firms and to friends and friends of the government in place, I am sure the numbers are going to multiply significantly. So excluding legal services, when you want transparency and you're spending our money, the country's money, I think that should be excluded from this exemption, which they did. They also said they exempted scheduled medical service. I don't even know what that means. I looked at the dictionary of the most legislation, which would be Section 2, and I got no definition. I want to know, what does that mean? I would like to know that. I would like to know what you meant by that. And audit and other services, and then other exemptions, which is ministered by order, affirmative. We have to get the approval of the Parliament, but a simple majority, because it's amendment. So I think we need to absolutely look at the Section 7, the exclusions, and also pass the regulations on, I think it is Part 7A, as it is called, that which provided for, as an amendment, for the disposal and lease of real property, which it did not provide for previously. And that covers the refinery, that covers the foreshore, but the reason why neither comes under the procurement regulator is because the regulations required to be passed to bring that provision into effect have not been enacted. So right now, all that land on the foreshore, which is highly, I know from my own experience in government, is highly prized, and you're reading about all that bacchanal as the, for want of a better word, but it is an English word, regarding movie town, which I tend to think there's some truth in that. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I think there is some truth in what was being said. And also, clearly, the refinery, bidding for that refinery and who should be shortlisted and what is required, that must come under the procurement regulator. So I would encourage the government to look at Section 7 for the exclusion of some of those provisions which exclude them from the oversight of the procurement regulator, as well as passing the regulations so that the regulator can have oversight as is required, as is intended by the Act, over the refinery and the foreshore. I think we need that.
The refinery?
I'm going to go to the refinery now.
Yes.
And that's segue into this.
This is the, well, we're now going to get into the crux of the matter. One thing I wanted to ask you from the very beginning, because this is the thing, it's diversification, but we need to look at oil and gas in the short term. But we're kind of looking at these projects on the horizon, not coming tomorrow or next month or next year. So, you know, so people maybe don't misunderstand, like, what are your, while you're speaking about the current situation with the refinery, and then we have to get into the ExxonMobil deal, what people's expectations should be?
Okay, so let us just say, in fairness to the former administration and the former Minister of Energy and I think there's something else there, I'm not quite
Energy,
sure.
well, energy and fares, I believe.
Energy?
And it changed to industries now. I can't remember. It changed when you got one.
You have to change it, right.
Yeah.
But any event, speaking to that, there are projects that are going to come on stream and come to gas, yes, in 2027. And those were projects initiated by the former administration, no question about that. So you can't be taking praise for that. In fact, I want a BP now because we pivoted back to natural gas and oil and
this is the world.
Yes, the world. We did that. I did that thing already, so I'm not going back there. And there are other factors, and everything is you can't imagine. You know, you can't really predict in a real way what is going to happen because I'm seeing natural gas trading very low. You know, even way below the budget price. I didn't think that was going to happen. But coming back to the point, one of the major finds of BP, which occurred under the former administration, is one of the 10 global natural gas projects. So it's global, not we're talking about Trinidad, we're talking about the world for BP, is the Ginger gas development. And they have actually done a final investment decision. I think it was in March or somewhere like that, but certainly before this administration came in. It's not only that project, in all, to give the SIP project, which was under the former administration, came to gas at the beginning of 2025 as they said it was going to. They also have a mentor project, the Frangipani, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Don't ask me.
Okay, I'm maybe putting the emphasis on you say it on the wrong syllable. But anyway, yes, I do sometimes. Frangipani, well, all these projects, the mentor, the SIP, big one, Ginger, all of these had a final investment decision and some came to gas like SIP prior to this new administration. So let's put that on the table. But what we can say about this administration clearly is the ExxonMobil. The ExxonMobil deal is significant and in giving really the sense of what this government has achieved, and it did achieve a good with this current Minister of Energy. What they achieved is that they have several blocks out for bid. And what they did in order to make it a very attractive, I guess ExxonMobil showed an interest in it. They unified or they merged or consolidated 7 blocks into one block. And my understanding is almost the size of Singapore, which is a little less not as large as Tobago for reference. In any event, they went ahead and made this ultra deep deep water bid, and ExxonMobil took it up as a united or merged block, made up, I think, about 7,500 square miles or meters or something. Anyway, it's a lot. It's quite a lot. And the other thing that you have to give them credit for, which ExxonMobil has done, it says that they did it in record time because they were able to, agree in principle, that they're going ahead, they are going forward with the ExxonMobil thing, and the ExxonMobil directors or the head people, leadership, have said that they've done it in record time. I think this was the fastest we came to an agreement in, according to them in Caribbean.
Well, saying that, are there any? Do we know enough of the terms of this deal to accurately assess it? That's the trick. Okay. Because Karen, yesterday when we were preparing for today's show, she gave me, and she mentioned it earlier, or she previewed it a little bit earlier, about what's going on in Guyana, and those are recent deals, and that's why the comparison is put on, and also because as our neighbor, one could argue, like, it's very comparable, whatever deals they get, whatever deals we get, because some of the conditions, there will be a lot of similarities in the environmental factors and the like.
Right, so having said all the positive things, and also knowing that as the leadership of ExxonMobil did say at the launch, they did say there's no guarantee, we're not sure of success. They did say that. So for those who are anticipating, this is going to come to gas, when? We don't even know if they'll find gas, but they anticipate they will. And if they do, the minister has already indicated that if they find oil and gas, that is going to cost us $20 billion. Now, I don't know where he got the figure from. So that is a little concerning, absolutely, when you look at, so don't talk about Ginger, talk about Mentu, talk about those BP projects and other shell projects like Manatee. But don't talk about ExxonMobil deal as if it's actually going to have gas. And if it does have gas, this is what Sean and I were talking about, and it was an eye-opener. I know we have all heard, certainly we have heard that the terms and conditions of the production sharing contract or production sharing agreement, we've had some articles in the papers talking about being careful about that because we do not want to happen to Guyana in its first round, the 2016 production sharing contract to happen to Trinidad. So we want transparency, we want accountability, and we want to know just as how Guyana has given, we know what is going on in Guyana, and we look at Suriname as a lesson learned, and also going forward, how Guyana is now negotiating, not the old contracts, which they cannot do, but the contracts going forward. So just to put some, to give more clarification on that, when Guyana went in 2016 under the former administration in Guyana, they agreed to terms that everyone has said, except the IMF. I was just so startled to read that actually. When everybody internationally, regionally, were condemning the terms and saying it was so lopsided, it was not in favor of Guyana, IMF said it was reasonable. I mean, what do you mean by, yes, I did, I saw it, that was very, that's very telling, you know.
I wonder if the climates of how fossil fuel usage and wanting to go green and like, it was different then, and the IMF allowed other considerations to pervade their assessment, which, when I say invade their assessment, because these considerations should not, they seem, the ones I'm speaking about shouldn't really be used, right? Other agendas should not be used to assess the nature of a deal, because the thing with fossil fuels is it's finite. So, you know, what is given away, you're not going to earn back. You could only try to learn from the lessons of the past.
Well, I don't know if that was something. They were talking about the terms of that agreement as being, and everybody was saying no. So that just tells you, you know, I mean, you could come to your own conclusion about that. But what I am saying is that this is what happened to Ghana, which of course Ghana itself realized under this new administration, oh, well, it's now have elections next month, but they have lambasted that 2016 agreement. I don't know how helpful it's going to be to them going forward, but we certainly know we're going to learn from that, and Suriname certainly did not make the mistakes that Guyana made in the 2016 round. So what did they agree to? What they agreed to, first of all, they agreed to an uncapped interest rate on loans. Uncapped interest rate. So they didn't agree the interest rate could be anything. Nothing was provided for in the 2016 agreement. But also to how were the payments to be made. Yes, Prime Minister Jagdeo is right to have said that the 2% royalty, which is compensation paid to a government for extracting their natural resources, he is right that it was paid on the gross revenues, gross production revenues. He's right, it was paid on that, and not what was being stated by a professor on that issue and saying it was not. They would pay the 14.5%, not the 30%, but let's see how it came to that. The first thing they did is pay the 2% on the gross production revenues. So that was paid. Then they subtracted that amount to look at what they call the recovery cost. And the recovery cost was 75%. And that recovery cost involved the infrastructure, Deepwater Harbor, seismic surveys, because remember, Ghana had no experience or no in the natural gas industry, so they did not have any infrastructure, they didn't have any expertise in that area, which ExxonMobil has recognized that we have. They've said it. We have mature fields going, experience going up the value chain in the natural gas, from LNG to the petrochemicals. We also have the infrastructure. They have admitted that, and they also said, of course, the geology between Ghana and Trinidad, they anticipate it will be very similar, and so they already have a lot of experience themselves working in the region, and then we have the experience here. So there's a lot of differentials, but still, so 2%, you minus that, and then you get to what is recovery cost, and they at 75%. You see how high that was? And then, after that, they would have the profit sharing, which would be 50-50, with 12.5 to the ExxonMobil and 12.5 to Ghana. So you know that is very little. I mean, that is no corporate tax, no corporate tax. And on top of that, they had to pay pre-contract costs, which was under dispute. Some figures said as much as 445 million US to 960 million. But I knew that there was a dispute over the figures. I think a claim for US 31.5 million for pre-contract costs, administrative staffing, office space, which has been the government of Guyana disputed that and they sent it to audit. But you're seeing some of these costs. And then the recovery costs, they do not define in all the contracts what they mean by recovery costs. You understand what they agreed to? So actually I have some figures here telling you that at the end of June, every year they gave you the figures. So the end of June 2024, they have a fund, a natural resource fund, had a total of US $4.48 billion deposited. So that sounds good, inclusive of royalties and profit sharing. So that included everything. Between that same period, Guyana lost almost equivalent in what it had to pay to ExxonMobil. It had to claim, it said in US, they paid $4.3 billion. They lost in taxes because they did not charge taxes. Then they said, I have the figures here. After that, in 2019 to 2021, they lost in taxes $2.13 billion. In 2022, $540 US million. And 2023, $1.5 billion US loss in taxes. So everyone has criticized the deal as being lopsided, except the IMF clearly. So you see that we don't want to make that mistake. Because we're not like Guyana without experience. We're not like Guyana without infrastructure. So let's see what the recovery costs are going to be. So Suriname clearly did not follow that. And they have a number of players in the oil industry in Suriname. ExxonMobil exited. I don't know if they didn't like the terms, but they secured a 6.25% royalty as opposed to the original 2% for Guyana. 36% in taxes or profits had to be shared depending on the oil price, and I think they have a corporation tax, I'm not sure, but then definitely their terms were much better. And so now this new Jagdio came in, and he has, but you see, there are limits to what he's saying, and so we have to be listen carefully, because I think I'm going to write an article on this, because I think the people of Trinidad and Tobago need to know what the, the experts have been hinting at about the terms, but I'm trying to put some flesh on it and the bones to show exactly what is what. And so in Guyana, what they did for the new profit sharing agreement, so it does not apply to all the old blocks, and the most lucrative of them, the, what do you call it, the Starbuck block, the most lucrative. It does not apply. Those old terms still apply. It's only the new agreements that the new terms will apply. And these are 10% royalty instead of 2%. Instead of recovery cost ceiling of 75%, it's 65%, and included a 10% corporation tax. They still have the pre-contract, and just understand that these new terms, which I don't know if they're settled, but it's certainly in dispute with ExxonMobil, it only applies to new blocks, which are smaller blocks, and these blocks, because they do not have, in terms of the cost of, they don't have any infrastructure in place, so the recovery costs are going to be very high. Even if it's 65% instead of 75%, it is going to be high because their recovery costs are going to be much higher than our recovery costs because of our position. So all I am saying on that situation is that, yes, it's a good development for Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we welcome it. We certainly need the production here. But when it comes to the terms and conditions that are agreed to by this government, learn from Guyana, learn from Suriname, be transparent about the terms, and let us not have a repeat of what happened to Guyana, where they're saying the equivalent of what they had in their fund was almost equivalent to what they lost in taxes.
And here's the thing, Guyana, before, because these terms came about before the massive oil find, and it was said Guyana didn't necessarily have the leverage to get foreign direct investment. Now, one of the reasons why Karen's concerns are valid is that before, we've seen it, the deep water bid rounds didn't seem to be that exciting. And before that, the energy companies, we were talking about it during COVID, it was almost like if they wanted to fully just divest fossil fuels and go green. But then now, the fallout of everything that happened within the last 5 years basically put our brakes to that, because at the end of the day, the economics just, it wasn't as feasible as people wanted to think, and COVID caused a lot of momentum to be lost, and then the shortages from Venezuela and Russia being taken off of the market, essentially, exacerbated the situation. So we weren't necessarily a place where energy companies wanted to come to do exploration. ExxonMobil said it themselves. So now the question is, did the current administration have to sweeten the deal to get it done quickly, or was it the fact that they did have such a good find in Guyanese waters, which is not too far from us, we're neighbors, right? Gave us a little bit more leverage.
And everything was already in the region.
Right?
They had everything in the region already.
Right, because the 75% recovery fee, that is considered well above the norm. The 2% rate for royalties, that is considered well below, right, the norm. So we do have, that is a very pertinent question. If this was done in record time, was it, that they said?
Yeah, they did.
What was the incentive? Was ExxonMobil thinking we need to snatch up the potential before someone else does? Or were we trying to give out incentives to say, no, we'll reduce things a bit to try to encourage foreign direct investment? We don't necessarily know. These are things that are important because, like I said, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, fossil fuels is just one of those things. And this is why when price drops, it's better to cut production or to stop production, right? Because once it's gone, you don't get it back. That's why Saudi Arabia and the other countries in the Middle East, they're scrambling to diversify. They're scrambling. Are we scrambling to diversify?
Well, let me just say for the countries in the Middle East, a lot of their issues are climate and just circumstances. There are a lot of sand.
Agriculture.
Yeah, a lot of sand. But so they have invested all over the world. So you understand this. They have made, and to some countries, they of course, it causes a certain level, I don't know, anxiety, I suppose. But they have done that. They have done huge investment, bought up huge properties all over the world. So they owe a lot. It may not be in their country, but that they own it. They own it. And that is what these countries have done, where there are challenges to really grow your economy outside of oil and gas. And then some of them have done like Dubai. Dubai is a great success. It's now a major tourism spot for the upper crust of society. And it's become a major selling point. So UAE has been able to flourish, so take that gas which they know has a finite life and also has the pricing is so unpredictable. I mean, 1 minute it's, it's really amazing. So what we have to learn, we already have a heritage stabilization fund which has about 10-point-something billion, and if all that money had not, billions of dollars had not been taken out by the former administration when they amended the act, probably have much more because they're investing in shares and stocks on the US market primarily. So it's just what we have to do with the money. What we have to do, not only diversify within Trinidad and Tobago, but use the funds that we do, the funds that we are able to get out of the energy sector and do like a lot of the Saudi Arabian and Middle Eastern countries. And, I mean, you learn from other countries' experiences, bad and good. So what I would say, we also have in Trinidad, we have really highly respected consultants in oil and gas. I can name 3 of them. Definitely Anthony Paul, Gregory Maguire, and Kevin Ramnarine. And he's already working with the Petrotrin in terms of finding what is the best
the refinery.
Yes, refinery. But as I said, they need to get the OPR involved. They need to do that because the OPR is not going to say what to do. They just have the oversight to make sure you follow the rules in terms of making the person bidding for, make sure it's followed, make sure the documentation is up to date, make sure it is fair and transparent. They're not there to tell the Petrotrin what to do, but they're there certainly to keep an eye, and I'm sure that we get transparency, accountability, and value for money. That's their role. And this country, if any other country, I mean, other countries probably are like us, but maybe it's the amount of oil and gas we have in this country, or whatever the reasons are, but we certainly have a problem with corruption in this country and in the public sphere. And so this is, I think, critical for the government. As I said at the beginning, the procurement regulations for real estate should be passed so that the procurement regulator can have oversight over this bid round or whatever they are, set the tenders that they are looking at. And of course, learn from Ghana, and make sure that when we negotiate, because we are in a stronger position than Ghana, but yes, And also, too, they have pivoted back to fossil fuel, so that's a positive for us. Yes, and the other thing is they have acknowledged they had to build all the infrastructure, everything. They don't have to do that in Trinidad and Tobago. I think we are number one in terms of global experts in the natural gas. We are probably a number one, if not, in the top
Up
5.
there, yeah.
Absolutely. So we have so many. We have a mature.
I had a lecturer once say that basically she couldn't go on an oil platform or rig anywhere around the world and not find at least one Trinidadian.
Absolutely, and then we have UTT offering all those these degrees in petroleum, petroleum gas and petroleum law, whatever the areas are in the petroleum industry. So we are well placed to have a much better negotiating position than Ghana had in its first round. And I think they have admitted to that. They've said all the good things about Trinidad, robust infrastructure, persons who are well-versed, and so on. We have the experts that can help. Forget about political, I don't know which political side you fall on, but this is Trinidad and Tobago. So if it's going to end up using the knowledge and expertise of these consultants who are well-versed in the energy sector, use them, because we want the best deal for our country.
I also think we don't have a shortage of political will on energy projects. It's one of those things where it's not going to be like agriculture, where we talk about it, but we kind of half ignore it at best.
Yeah, but you see, as you say that, those shown, the problem is that what the concern would be is, which is why the procurement legislation is so critical. You know, some people will ask, oh, why would you have agreed to such terrible terms?
Well, at the time...
No, you don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm saying with Guyana at the time, while you might not necessarily agree with how far they went, with how much concessions they gave to ExxonMobil, you could understand the general motivation for them then.
Yeah, but
we're not
so
in the
bad.
same... We're not
but Suriname didn't...
yeah,
anyway, the point about it is, listen, when you're dealing with procurement and sale and disposal of public goods, you want transparency and accountability. That is what you absolutely need to have, and that's why you have the legislation, and that is why questions are always asked when you agree to a deal that is so not in our interest. It brings questions as to, well, why would you agree to something like that?
Just to be clear, we don't know
I'm
what
not
the
saying
terms are.
anybody.
I know, but people might misunderstand and make assumptions with what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that about this government.
About us. Yes, I know. But it's one of those things, trust me, experience tells me, you need to be very clear with the public because somebody is not paying attention completely to what you're saying.
Right, so that's why we want that. So I'm not making any allegation about anybody, but you know, in the past, I mean, in any country, when you see a contract awarded and it's the terms you say to yourself, and they always ask you for more money and more money and more money, and they can't finish on time, and it goes way over budget, not 10 or 20%, but 100%, you start to wonder, well, how that happened? I mean, it does raise questions. We don't want that to happen with this great deal. We don't want that, okay? Because that's the public sector initiative. It's not the private sector. And so we want to make sure that whatever we agree to, that there are enough eyes on the thing and enough expertise to assist in getting the best deal for Trinidad and Tobago. So all I did today was congratulate the Ministry of Energy and the Minister for the initiative they have taken, because we do need the production. I also congratulated with the speed at which the agreement was agreed to go forward. They have no final investment decision. They haven't done any of the work. We have none of that, but at least we have this something to look forward to besides what we already know about, which is the key problem for us is production. So that's a good thing for us. And I was just pointing out the Ghana experience, the Suriname experience, and what is going forward for Guyana, which does not affect any of the blocks that were already negotiated. So we learn from those things and make sure we get value for our money. That's all I have to say, yes.
I think the point on the procurement regulator it can't be emphasized enough because, listen, we've had too many instances of high-profile corruption on, I mean, just the Heathrow slips alone will always, when they were sold, will always kind of bother me, especially since Carl decided, oh, let's go back to flying to England in less than ideal conditions. And then, of course, the benefits of the refinery, why it was closed down, things like that. The thing is, we're speaking about, we have to learn from as much as we said in the show, Guyana could learn from our mistakes and certain things on how to manage your newfound wealth. We could learn from them, but we also, ourselves, should learn from ourselves. That's the key thing that Karen is basically saying. Let's not repeat mistakes, right? Because it's all too easy to repeat mistakes when we kind of get an overinflated sense of grandeur and accomplishment and look how great we are. That's true, but that doesn't make you immune from making mistakes moving forward. All right, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines and we continue the conversations. There's more than just crime going on, so we can't allow ourselves to be totally distracted by that. Is it a distraction? That's a whole other conversation for another day. But stay tuned. This is Talking About WSN. We'll be right back after this.
Advanced Solutions Technical Institute isn't just about courses, it's about creating futures. We serve every learner, from the new graduate to the seasoned professional, with engaging, supportive staff and tailored learning plans. Study in the way that works for you and gain skills in business, security, finance, telecoms, fiber optics, and beyond. ASTI, training tomorrow's leaders today.
It's a battle clash. First up is 90s R&B. Born in the golden era of rhythm and blues, this genre is all about smooth vocals, soulful harmonies, and that laid-back groove we all love. It's St. James Secondary versus Presentation College San Fernando. Who will bring the most soul to steel?
So next we're gonna dive into the depths of the maxi dub, straight from Jamaica's sound system culture. Dub is bass heavy, eco-filled, and hypnotic. Real vibes. All you hear is from you know. But in this round, we're gonna have San Juan North Secondary versus Tranquility Bama Secondary. Oh, you know what I mean? It's groove versus groove.
Finally, he turns up with Afro beats, modern fusion from West Africa, blending African rhythms, hip-hop and dancehall with pure celebration. Get ready as Bishop Anstey High School for Spain was head-to-head with St. Francis Girls College in a high-energy culture.
Struggling with heart health or frequent migraines? Discover the simple steps to reclaim your energy and vitality.
We're diving into a topic that affects about 422 million people around the world. Diabetes.
Tune into Wellness Unlocked, the series that delivers expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you take control of your health and well-being. Your health matters. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.
KDM Health Limited says, test yourself for STDs in the privacy of your own home. Our self-help test kits for all STDs are available at our wholesale office in Chaguanas. Call 283-1423. Visit our website at www.kdmhealtht.com or email us at kdmhealthlimited@gmail.com to place your orders. Available at all health institutions and pharmacies. Contact us for a free list of products and prices.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
I'm back here and talk about a WSND Connect After Show. Michael Small joined by Karen Teixeira. Karen was speaking about the current state of the economy, capstoning the discussion with regards to the energy sector, looking at the Guyanese terms and conditions of their deal with ExxonMobil. And then, I would say I introduced directly the speculation on what are the current terms right now. Karen is saying, look, these are the kind of things that we have to try to avoid. We don't know exactly what they are, even though the deals were done in record time. Now, to what extent is suspicion and questions, you know, premature, or to what extent is it just, you know, being cautious and thorough? And of course, one of the things that did come up also, Karen was speaking about the Office of Procurement Regulation, which to some extent, that's one of those hidden things that will affect everything else. If we kind of ignore it and don't treat it properly, then we should not be surprised when we have issues down the line with corruption or with waste, just inefficiency as well. It's just one of those things where if we allow, when the cat's away, the mice can play. One of the things that I actually thought you were going to bring up, because it's something that I make note of, in part because you always bring it up, just as a by the way, when you brought up the situation with the lawyers, is
legal fees?
Well, no. One of the people who hires lawyers, isn't it the office of the DPP? So I just wanted to segue to another topic, because the whole situation with the Dana case, where there's a lawsuit, the DPP is basically saying, look, there's a lot of cases that are behind, and in the hundreds. And I think that I thought this was a good point to say, hey, one of the things we have to look at with regards to our expenditure too also is fleshing out the DPP's office as you, just to segue into a different topic as you brought it up. Because if we have all this money to pay legal fees all over the place, what about the DPP's office? Because he did, one report is that it's like 400 to 500 cases which are a backlog. Criminal, this is not no minor court matters.
Well, I mean, I read the article, and you have to read between the lines. I read between the lines were not blurred. They were very clear to me. And I know what he was trying to say without saying it. And I'm going to be careful not to say anything, because, I mean, I cannot say with 100% assurance that my analysis or my understanding of what he was saying is accurate.
The other part.
Yes, I can't say that thing, but I think I did understand. And what I can see is, even if he didn't say it or mean to say it, the parts of the affidavit that were published in the newspaper, you have to understand what he's having challenges both from the judiciary side, that's what he's clearly saying. He's having problems with the clear understaffing in his department. He would not have all of this backlog if he had adequate staff and HR resources. He also would not have issues where the police are, well, he did say that there are some occasions when the police will come to him as whether to go forward an investigation, and sometimes he tells them to go ahead and they do not. So you put together everything that he said without saying it, and essentially what he's saying, stop blaming me. Take off the blinkers, understand the challenges my office has in relation to dealing not only with a high-profile case like Dina Sitahal, but in other cases where a lot of the requirements that are in order to move forward with an indictment, to move forward with any matter, I am powerless, because what I need, I don't have it. I mean, when he said that he got in 2020, there was an indictment against one of the gentlemen who they say now indict him or let him or not. And he's saying to you, in 2024, he got 8,100 pages of electronic data, and he does not have an HR thing. 8,100. He's already under so much pressure to prosecute. I mean, and then you want to blame him. You have to ask yourself why. And then he says to you that he wants, even though the Chief Justice said that you don't need the original, he has his reasons, I'm sure, for wanting and saying electronic copies adequate for evidential purposes. He passed some practice direction in 2024, May 2024, I believe. He's still, I guess I'm talking about it, right? So he's saying, yeah, I am talking about it, but you come to your own conclusion. But the conclusion I came to is that you're blaming me. You're blaming me. But let's look at all the other factors that impact on my being able to to do my part, which is to prosecute. I cannot prosecute until I have the indictment, the documents to file an indictment. I cannot prosecute until all the evidence, because evidence is a whole, I said this before in law school, evidence, what you could say in outside, and I was in Parliament, but still there's parliamentary privilege, and you can be sent to the Privileges Committee, still even there, is not going to hand, and in the standard of proof being beyond a reasonable doubt, right? When you're looking at all of those things, he's trying, I think I understood him to be saying, you blaming me for that backlog? Give me staff, give me HR staff, give me the full complement of attorneys working full time. He's been complaining about that ever so long. Give him that. Let there be a better understanding between the judiciary and himself. It clearly is not a good relationship, it seems to me anyhow. And then the police, you know, he has his challenges with the police, and he cannot go forward until he's satisfied about the level of evidence. And for him to go in a court and lose a case because he has not been able to reach the standard of proof. Remember, a person accused of a crime could sit down and say nothing, you know. You are the accuser. You're innocent until proven guilty. There's no duty on me to help you to prove my guilt, you know. It is your duty to prove my guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a high threshold to cross. So I think if I were a member of the public, a discerning member of the public, and have been following the trials and tribulations of this DPP, and he's had many, I would say that he has given a good account of why there has been delay and what he's struggling with as a DPP without.
Let me try and put it this way. He says he needs the originals. He probably has a reason. We don't know what it is. He didn't say what it is, but he probably has a reason, right? Now, one could say, well, he could then tell the court, if he's limited to digital copies, he could then say, well, based on what I have, but the whole process of justice, I don't think it's that simple.
The dates.
I mean, because once you get into that point, then the trial has all of these technical issues now that could potentially derail it if you're not careful. And he's, you know, one of the things might be, he just wants to make sure, when I'm doing things like the Dana Sita Almeida, the last thing I want is all kind of technical issues.
To me, he's saying that he's not getting enough information from the police to go forward. And he's saying, they're drowning me with data, drowning me with things that I cannot address because of shortage.
There's also a situation, it might be minor, it might be major, but it's a clue that the working relationship, just tangential, with the judiciary and the police also is under certain strains because of certain circumstances. But I won't get into it. Okay. Just to point out that the criminal justice system is not this, it's more like this. So we have Arima on the line. Good morning, caller, you on the air?
Good morning to you, Sean and Vegas.
Morning.
Now, before I start today, I want to say something. You see the advice and criticisms coming from this program? I realize that they've been needed. Because Monday we spoke about the recovery efforts for the body of the driver. Yesterday on the news, I saw immediately that the Ministry of Energy was making inquiries into that. That was nice to see. I also spoke about yesterday now, why it is they're going after Mr. Sturge. Lunchtime news tell you about a bounty being placed on the minister's head. Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
That's really sad. But with regards to your topic today, right? The next economic chapter for Trinidad and today. Here we're going. It are 4 words we gotta get rid of. Wastage is one. Mismanagement, inefficiency, and corruption. We gotta get rid of them things in the next economic chapter. Because I want to give you some homework. Now, we have some state board directors. I want to look at the salaries that these people receiving and the state of affairs of these organizations. Because when they tell you, well, this organization hasn't submitted audited reports for the past 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however the time. And then you look at the directors and what the qualifications from the ground to the roof. You know. There's not no average person you take up in a round shop and put there. So, you gotta look at. The next thing I want us to look at too is the state ownership of an airline and a hotel. That has happened around the world. I want somebody enlighten me on that. Because when you look at the salary that the directors and cars receive it, and then to if I something contrary with that, because I could remember call members standing up and saying Carl has made a profit. Yes, standing up in the parliament boasting about that. So we have to get to the bottom of this Carl issue with the audited statement, because I ain't batting for Coleman Button. I batting for the taxpayer. And it is hard to know that a man is getting 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a month. And at the end of the year, the organization making a loss. And it's not an organization that is core to the government functions. I want to know what part of running an airline or a hotel have to do with providing public and merit goods, maximizing social welfare. Yeah, I want to understand that. And the last thing we had to deal with, you see, traffic, decentralization, and solar power. Yeah, traffic. Because if we had to get productivity up, we had to get traffic down. Or people had to work from home or something, but we have to deal with that negative externality there, traffic. And the last thing for me is solar. If we really want to develop this country, why is it people cannot have solar panels in their own homes? And we always made to understand, under Stuart Young, Genentech was creating a solar park. So as to save on the natural gas that is used to generate electricity. And then that will be sold to us, the citizens. So why can't we develop our own in our homes? I will listen off here. Thanks. Good program as usual.
Thank you, caller. The last question, I think it's to do about expense. It's not necessarily cheap. Where it gets cheap is you've had subsidies in the past in different countries.
But they do have a solar project that was Shell, BP, and
no, but he's talking about why can't private citizens have solar panels?
Well, they have it in, you know, when I was a student in Barbados many years ago, I might add, the house that we rented, which was a nice place, was solar powered.
Yeah.
Barbados has a lot of solar.
It is more efficient, but that doesn't mean that it's cheap. It's not necessarily cheap.
Originally, the panels are expensive.
But it's not just the panels, it's also the power management and storage system that you need, right? So I don't know if there's any legal reason why we can't have it. I just think it's one of those things where it's the cost on the private sector to get enough, you know, to invest in it. I do think, though, that it's the future, right? Don't get me wrong. But it may be premature now, or it may be because we haven't had anybody bold enough to invest in it and to drive it. Economically speaking, because you know you can make money off of it in theory. It just depends on the customer base. Part of the other issue is our electricity rates are very cheap, so that kind of makes the cost to go and get your own solar panels prohibitive. The government did say, the last administration did say that they were trying to make it so that you could sell back excess electricity to the grid. There are tricky situations when you have that kind of incentive, though. And I'll just leave that there because we do have a caller, San Fernando, waiting. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sean. Good morning, Karen.
Morning.
It's very nice discussion this morning, Karen, as usual.
Okay. So this is for me, yeah?
As usual with you. You know, Sean, when you look at our economy, the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, look at our foreign exchange earnings. Trinidad and Tobago is not badly off here. We have some systemic issues with respect to our demand for foreign exchange that is causing what we see happening in Trinidad and Tobago right now. All these business chambers, all these, what do you call them? All these buy and sell business chambers that are clamoring for foreign exchange. And this is where a lot of the problem is. I listened to a podcast with Mark Jardine, who is one of the persons at the helm of RBC. And I was surprised that of Mr. Jardine's comment on agriculture and the potential that he sees in agriculture. And this is a banker. So while we have the ExxonMobil thing far off there, I am hoping to see a massive concentration on diversifying. And as Karen said, oil and gas that is what we have. We have oil and gas. So diversifying around that as well, and really taking the push to do what we really should have done 40 years ago. Really seeing it starting to happen, and I hope this government is hearing, as the caller from Irma said. I hope they're listening to the comments on this program. Now, that ExxonMobil, one of the issues that I have with the government and the production sharing arrangement negotiating skills is that on the last go around, they made some serious faux pas with BP, which when the PNM came back in, they had to go to BP and try to correct. So I hope they because they're full of lawyers, but they don't have a lot of engineers and oil and gas people. So I'm hoping that, but the vigilance of Trinidad and Tobago, I think, is going to steer us in a better light for that. ExxonMobil is an nefarious cheater when it comes to PSCs and what they have done in Guyana and continue to do in Guyana right now. A lot of people don't understand. And the Guyanese government can't even count the extraction. What they're extracting from that Starbuck field is the figures is what ExxonMobil gives them, you know. They're not auditing the volumes that are coming out of the ground. It is so sad that there are people in Guyana that are trying to force the government's hand to set up agencies to monitor this, and they have not, Sir Jagdev, and they have vehemently refused to set it up. So I hope we don't go down that same road. But we have, I suppose, our history would guide us. And we still have people, as Karen said, in the industry who can do what we want them to do. One last thing I want to say, Sean, I've heard you mention a couple times now about the slots in Heathrow Airport. And I think you should go back in the history and get some more information, because you're insinuating some things there that I don't like.
Okay.
I think you need to go back at the time and understand the situation and understand slips at Heathrow are use it or lose it, right? And when you're coming down to a crunch that we've had, you have a situation where you had to get rid of it. 10 years later, was not on the cards at the time. As the Prime Minister said, no. If you had to believe the Prime Minister that no route of Caribbean Airlines is profitable, because they're going to pull out of Jamaica, right? That arrangement that they had in Jamaica, because that has never made any money. And they have some ridiculous arrangements with staff in Jamaica. I could not believe when I saw those arrangements. So I think you need to go back and look at the environment at the time and who was brought in and what they tried to do before insinuating those things. Because at the time there were similar insinuations as well. However, in 2013 was it? I can't remember the time. But Mr. Ram Logan, who was the Attorney General at the time, set up a 3-man committee to investigate that same thing that you're insinuating there. Set up a 3-man committee to investigate the sale of those slips for potential corruption. Have you heard anything about that yet?
Well, it won't be the first time though, caller. That's the problem. I can't use that as a
but the point is,
indicator.
The fact that it was set up and investigated and there was no evidence up to now to show that there was corruption. I think it's unfair to those people who negotiated those things to subject to, after this time, to be subjected to your swipe of insinuation. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I'm not.
Sean, don't worry to defend. I'm not, Sean. I love you too bad. You don't have to.
No, what I'm saying.
To defend yourself every time I make a comment. This is interaction.
Yes. I just say even if it wasn't criminal, I might disagree on the business side, but I'll leave it there.
Okay.
You know what, Mrs. Tampano must be very good at poking the bear with you. He must be very good at doing that. This is clear to me. He slips that in at the end and gets Sean to react.
It is unfortunate, caller, Mrs. Fernando.
He's one of my favorite TV people.
I know.
Mrs. Fernando, I'll say this. It is unfortunate because what you said about the corruption investigation should be true. It's just because of the way how things are played out, I can't, and I don't know if it's just me, but I can't utilize that as 100%. Well, there's nothing there. Unfortunately,
I think that is the unfortunate thing with living in Toronto.
Yes. Yeah. that is the point that I wanted to make at the end.
Like, thing about living in Toronto, I must say. Great program, and Karen, I hope you could come back and do a little more of this diversification exploration that you're trying to do here.
Thank you.
And get it on. Let us get it together this
time. I
time.
want to write an article, because the audience here, what I do think about WSN is that we have an audience, but I think the government or whoever, I think there are people who will look at this show because there is an independence.
Thank you, Paula.
Yes, thank you. There's an independence here that you're not stymied by all other considerations, and you have people. I think Sean is excellent, a lot of people doing their research and making a contribution. So they listen to what I think that this show says. And it's the credit of WSN. And I think you must have Mr. Sam Fernando as a guest because this man is a walking encyclopedia of knowledge. I just want to say one thing before we go, because I think in all fairness to the former administration, because, this kind of backbiting and thing, I don't agree with that when you don't have a point. Of course, don't attack when you don't have ground to stand on. And that is the removal from the EU blacklist. I mean, this current government is making it seem as they have done something and the former government didn't do anything. Well, the data is there and they even printed it. They said in the second round, we were non-compliant. That was all what they were saying because of tax evasion. I think that's the EU reason for blacklisting us. But in this first round, there were a lot in 2011. Yes, there's a lot of non-compliance. But the second round, which ended in this year under the former government, they have said it is largely compliant. In fact, many of these things are compliant. And the EU has said that they're moving towards removing the EU blacklisting. So what I'm just saying is most of the work that was done by the former Minister of Finance, Colin Imbert, when he was there. Give him that credit. And the last thing I want to say, because I like to be balanced in my in what I say, we are not going to have a chance to go into internet and ICT. But what I want to say, and I think it is only fair to the former government, because when I read it, I was so pleased. I heard them say that LaBrea, they're moving in LaBrea to put in a ICT, what do you call it? Help me with, I'm not good at these things. Access, something, internet access. Infrastructure access, digital transformation. I think it's called, I just want to say this before we go, honestly. Okay, but what I really want to say, they said, P.S., LaBrea ICT to transform life. So when I read this, I'm saying, my God, this government did this so quickly. No, let's be fair. The former Prime Minister, yes, Stuart Young, that one, he was the one that opened up on the ICT they're talking about just before they lost office. And plus two, there are articles where the Minister of Public Administration, residents welcome ICT access for Trin City, LaBrea, and Taradale. And that was under the former government. And all the things they're talking about they're doing there, the former government was doing. So they need to expand it and to give credit where credit is due. On the EU matter, on the ICT access matter, please do not take credit for something that you are not responsible for, say you're going to expand it and make it more inclusive. Yeah. That's what you want to see, but don't try to take credit and critique the government without acknowledging the part they played. That's what I'm saying.
And this is why it's important. We try to be fair on this show and not be hypocritical. You can't blame the previous administration for things that are currently bad, right? And then take credit for things that are not short-term projects or not one-month projects. And right? Because this is the thing. Part of what I did when the PNM was in office was when I thought it was relevant, you could argue the accuracy of my assessment. That's a separate matter. Understand that there are external factors for some of the bad things that are happening to us. And we have to take that into consideration. You criticize the management under those conditions. Now moving forward, one of the defenses of the current administration, because I am the one that will say, I understand why you don't have money. You inherited a bad situation. Sure. For whatever reason, you inherited a bad situation. I am more than willing to go to bat for you on that. But I can't use the PNM left you in a bad situation. But somehow, in 1 month, you find you open up a new water plant, or you did this or you did that. When you're talking about long-term projects, you can't take the credit for the success of long-term products and pass on the blame for long-term issues, right? You can't have it both ways. And I think the population...
Confidence and trust, you
yes,
see? It affects the confidence and trust.
It makes you look like, to people who understand a little bit more, right? And again, maybe the accuracy on each specific instance, we're not 100% accurate on timelines and stuff like that. But the general principle, it will make you seem as though you're only playing games and you're not actually being truthful, transparent, and serious. And then it undermines, and spiteful, and it undermines all of the messaging that the Prime Minister wants to have about goodwill and inclusion and everybody
within.
Side,
by the way, they have all those failings too, huh?
Exactly, and I did say that about one of my commentary earlier in the show, that look, it works both ways. You see some of the mistakes, and it's not playing out exactly the same way, but the principles, the ideology of the matter where we have issues are similar. There are other countries, just to wrap up, there are other countries with state-owned airlines and hotels. With regards to state-owned airlines, certain first-world economies, they might be 50% or less. But not all. I think there was one European country where they were at 100%. It's not ideal, and I think the problem is, it is a potential indicator. Why isn't the private sector wanting to invest?
True.
Right? It could be because, and then of course now, the trick is, when you have state ownership, you're going to get state interference.
That's true.
At the end of the day, you're going to get state interference. Because state will prioritize social issues, like jobs, more than profitability. And the unfortunate reality is, when you do that, efficiency will suffer. I'm not saying that you can't give consideration for jobs and stuff like that.
But be out of office
right,
soon.
But you have to balance it, otherwise you do get what the caller from Marima, he was describing with regards to, you start off with inefficiency, then it'll get to wastage, then it'll go to mismanagement, then it'll go to corruption. Because if we don't clean it up when it starts off small and minor things like inefficiency, those open windows, well, somebody will eventually realize, hey, I could step through and be outright corrupt and not just... Because we're not worried about saving money here. We're not worried about being correct here.
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, and the last thing I want to say, one of the issues with the demand for Forex, if we do potentially get back, find new oil and gas resources and it helps our economy, one of the things that might be an issue, not just with diversification, but also the fact that it will de-incentivize us being putting a bit more consideration on how we spend our Forex and how we allocate it. All of us, because I'm sure this is what's going to happen. Say we get a big windfall, a big new oil field, and all of a sudden the state is getting foreign exchange that they can put into the system. And then the private sector is going to say, right, we're going to do more import to retail, we're going to do more foreign franchises, right? That's the problem. We'll become complacent again because it'll be easy again, and we will fail to learn from the lessons of this period. And that's one of the lessons that I hope we do not just throw by the wayside. How we feel functioning now, in the state that we're in now, because it will come again. If we are not careful, it will come again, where we have forex shortages again. And that's if we get this windfall. That's if we get it. But that's all part of that Dutch disease experience. So that's why the banker is identifying hidden, untapped, underinvested potential. Because at the end of the day, whether we have oil or not, we could still make money off of agriculture. But, you know, we just don't have the will to really get it done.
Definitely. I think this government will. Agri and agribusiness, that's important, not just agriculture for food security, but agribusiness for foreign exchange.
We had to wait for the budget. The budget will be first indicator.
She said it's youth, and I think
it's going to be first indicator.
Okay, but I anticipate she's going to put a lot of emphasis on IT and ICT. She's going to put a lot of emphasis.
With the youth, yes. Yeah, I can see that, yes.
Yeah, but also because we need that to transform. Because a little country like Singapore, it doesn't matter, they're so tiny. What it matters is they have an excellent ICT setup. And so that's the key.
It makes you more efficient. Because the police, after that flooding.
I think we're going to get somebody telling us to get off the shoe. So let me just say, the ICT definitely is going to be, and agri and agribusiness 100%. I am pretty confident she's sort of telegraphed that already. I welcome that.
The one good thing with regards to the one thing that we can't discount.
I couldn't deal with it this week, but I'm going to deal with it,
The one thing
to deal with it.
When she says for the youth, we can't totally give up that doesn't mean agriculture, because young people are looking to get into agriculture, right? So hopefully there will be part of it will be the incentives for new young entrepreneurs into those businesses, because if you do have that, they are the ones with the energy to maybe get these small startups off the ground to kind of pave the way to really mature the industry. So we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Hopes for the future, but you know, I think it really comes down to what this budget says. It really does, because they only have 5 years, and you can't just waste any one of them, not just the first one. So we'll see how it goes. Folks, thanks to the callers for calling in. Thanks, Karen, for joining me once again.
You're welcome.
I didn't know, that was not on my radar with regard to the ExxonMobil deal, so thanks for that. And just one more thing to worry about, unfortunately. This is talking about the WESN content capture. I want to remind everybody, of course, to stay safe, have a good day. Remember your allegiance to the Republic and to each other. And yes, remember your allegiance to each other so you don't commit a bad drive on the highway and cause a bus to crash, folks.
Of course, right? That's serious.
No, that's the thing. I want to remind people, when you're on the roads, look out for each other. Never forget, it's nice to be nice. Even if somebody bad drives you, don't compound the mistake with your own wajangness, so that we could see each other tomorrow. Safe and sound. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Feeling drained? Struggling to keep up? It's time to take control of your wellness. On this episode of Wellness Unlocked, we're diving into the key nutrients your body needs for all-day energy and balance, with 100% or more of your daily essential vitamins, plus added chromium to support healthy blood sugar. This is complete wellness in a single soft gel. Join us as we uncover how small changes can make a big impact on your health. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and take the first step toward better health.